everyone, welcome to GameFace episode 147 on Sifted Games at sifted.net. It is election night in America. Yep. I know a lot of you guys are probably in Europe somewhere, but it is a big day here in America, and I have voted.
So did
Matt has voted. If any of you guys are watching the stream right now and you're registered to vote and you have not voted, stop watching this show right now and go vote. It's one of the most important things you could ever do. Yeah. So,
well, if you're on the West Coast.
Yeah, I guess it's too late now on the
polls
East.
Close at 8. So,
yeah. So they closed about an hour ago on the East Coast.
If you're West Coast or Mountain Time, there's still time.
There's still time.
No, I guess maybe, yeah. Yeah, you still time.
So if you live here...
You Las Vegas.
Yeah, stop watching. We actually do have a lot of fans in Vegas. So if you're watching the show, you're on the West Coast, stop watching. You can watch the archive. Go and vote. There's nothing more important. Definitely voting is way more important than watching GameFace.
We're not going to say anything interesting anyway.
Yeah, I don't agree with that. But voting is definitely far more important than watching a show about video games. So I hope you guys go do it.
Also, it's like if all those cell phone commercials are to be believed, you can watch us on the go anywhere in the world.
There might be someone standing in line to vote right now watching on their phone.
Yeah, assuming there's a Wi-Fi connection robust enough for the small print.
Well, you can stream the show on your mobile connection pretty easily. So
I always find it amusing that those commercials are just like, it's like, you can watch things anywhere in the world, and it's like, must have robust Wi-Fi connection. Right, yeah. Not guaranteed to work in all. It's like, yeah, I know, I've tried it. I know what you're really saying, dude.
Yep. So big night in America tonight. Let's see. Photo contest is coming online tomorrow. So go to sifted.net. And everything will be posted tomorrow. All the rules and kind of what we're looking for the photo contest. All that stuff is kicking off tomorrow. And then the episode that's as closest to Thanksgiving as we can get, we are going to announce the winner. And we'll go through all the entries and show all your photos. It's going to be fun. Update on the t-shirts. You can see I'm still wearing our freaking shirts. How many weeks is this in a row? 6?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've made it through all.
4 or 5.
Yeah. You guys are not buying the shirts. I don't know why. It's pretty discouraging, to be honest, but it is what it is. We're going forward with the t-shirt competition anyway, the t-shirt photo competition. And again, the winner will get a free game of their choice on whatever platform they want, and we'll get it for you digitally, or we'll even get you a hard copy and send it to you, whatever you want. So with that, we should get on with the show. Matt's got some stuff tonight. There's big election parties going on in LA. We do have a great show for you guys, so let's kick it off. We're going to talk first about undoubtedly the biggest topic over the last 4 days, and that is BlizzCon. BlizzCon just happened over the weekend. Usually BlizzCon is one of those things where it's almost always universally lauded. Like Blizzard does a really good job with this convention, and usually no matter what Blizzard game you're into, you'll get a little something for each one of those games. Things were different this year, Matt.
Yeah. The one of the somethings was not the someone wanted.
Right. More than one person didn't want.
So I didn't actually.
Do you want to recap the whole thing, or do you want me to recap?
I mean, I can recap some of it. Basically, the big finale. Every year they do kind of I guess it's kind of the keynote thing where they show all the stuff and they announce all the things. And they had a new character for Overwatch. They announced the World of Warcraft Classic. They had some more information on that. They had the Warcraft 3 remasters coming. And then one of the things that's been going on this year is they've sort of been banging the drum a little bit over the course of 2018, saying like Diablo stuff's coming. Diablo fans, there's some stuff for you coming up. And, Diablo, working on some Diablo. And then the big finale at BlizzCon was they announced a mobile game called Diablo Immortal. Yep. That is being made by a third-party contractor that is reskinning their Chinese hit mobile action RPG free-to-play, microtransaction vacuum. Basically, they're taking an action RPG that's already been a hit for a year in China, and they're hosing it down with Diablo juice and calling it a new game. And the attendees at BlizzCon voiced some disapproval of this.
Yeah, right when it was announced, they booed.
In the form of, someone I know who was there said at one point it felt like a riot was going to break out. Because video games. Yeah. And there were people posting on forums and that were at the venue. I know a couple people who have eyewitness accounts of there were people crying in the theater because they thought Diablo was over.
Get a freaking grip.
Now, Diablo Immortal looks terrible.
We're seeing it right now.
It is not a thing I want to play. It is not a thing I will play. It is not what I want a Diablo to be. I would not, could not in a box. I would not with a fox. However, I don't think this means Diablo 4 is canceled and this is Diablo forever. The issue here seems to be that Blizzard made a very poor judgment call in having this be the sole Diablo thing they showed or talked about. And basically, I think if you're going to do this, because I think you're in a Command and Conquer E3 situation where, like, we have to show this thing we're working on. The shareholders expect it. It's going to be, this is our biggest moment. We got to show this thing it's going to make them millions and millions of dollars.
Hundreds
maybe
of
not
millions
from
of
us,
dollars. Yeah.
but like it's going to work. I promise.
Yeah.
But you gotta throw up like a logo for or at least just say, hey, we're working on Diablo 4. It's a long way out. It's coming. Just relax. It's going to be a thing. But instead, they made fun of the people that were upset about it and asked them if they don't own phones, as though the problem people had was that they don't have the device to play it on, as opposed to we don't want to play this. So as much as I disagree with the people that freaked out and screamed and near rioted over this, the idea that Blizzard couldn't see this one coming, because they did put out a statement the next day, say they did not expect this level of vitriol, and it's like the gardener could have told you that this was going to something.
I would have never guessed it would be this insane, though.
I would, because do you remember when Diablo 3 was announced and the entire internet spent months losing their shit about how it had colors in it and they'd ruined Diablo forever, and green doesn't belong in Diablo, and endless numbers of desaturated versions of the screenshots, and that's what Diablo is supposed to look like. And I mean, Diablo fans have very strong opinions about what Diablo is and what Diablo should be and what Diablo must be going forward, and I don't think a cash-in mobile game is really part of that.
Oh, certainly not. I mean, I understand that they don't care about the mobile game,
and they were hoping,
totally understandable.
And they were hoping for like the rumored Diablo 2 remaster, some word on Diablo 4, maybe even some comment on Diablo 3 content, because they haven't added any real new content to Diablo 3 outside of the Necromancer, which apparently did not sell all that well for a couple years. They still do the ladder stuff and the regular season stuff, but Diablo 3 has been more or less static outside of like the Switch version that got released and stuff. And I think Diablo 3 fans were just hoping for a bone to be thrown their way, and there's something to be said for managing expectations, but Blizzard kind of spent a long time saying like, hey, we're gonna have a Diablo thing,
but it wasn't lying.
No, but it's like if EA had been teasing like we're gonna have a Command and Conquer thing before E3, and then you had to sit through that 10-minute mobile demo. It's like, yes, I understand why that's there. I understand why that is a thing. But if you thought that was going to make anybody happy in the core demographic, you're out of your mind.
Yeah, I mean, to me, you're right. Blizzard was kind of tone deaf on the whole thing, but still, to me, the fans are just acting like children.
Yeah.
But I was talking, I think it was a couple months ago, I was talking about how increasingly I cannot connect with a lot of gamers anymore. Look, it's an age thing. I'm older, they're younger, and I get that. We're kind of at different points in our lives. But increasingly for me, I've become more and more embarrassed by the activity of the people I would call my brothers and sisters. It probably hasn't really changed that much. I think it's me that's changed. My perspective on people reacting like this to things has probably changed over time. I'm sure back when I was in my teens and early 20s, this would have happened. I'd probably been like, whatever, that's the way it goes. But now I watch it and I'm like, to me, these people, we represent each other. It's like when people know that you're really into games, when they run, like my family, they'll be like, I'll go home for Christmas. He's like, I ran into this kid the other day. He's a big gamer, and he said he's been playing this and this and like they connect you. You're connective tissue to that scene. And when stuff like this bubbles up and it ends up making it on like the home page of major commercial websites, and your family starts to see it, and they're like, "What the hell is all this all about?" They start to associate you with that way of thinking and that activity, and I don't like that because these people seem insane to me.
Well, I admit, and I said to my girlfriend, we were talking about it, because she watched the BlizzCon stuff because she's into Overwatch.
Yeah.
I mean, she's thrilled with the new character and everything.
Yeah.
But I was like, she was like, it's like, is there anything, like, she's a giant Castlevania fan, so she's already had her heart broken.
Right.
Her favorite series is over. But she's like, I didn't scream at Konami or cry about it.
Right.
And I'm like, yeah, I can't think of anything that, like, you would tell me, oh, no more of these are ever coming, and I would be that upset about it. Maybe that's because I'm a Sega fan, so I got my heart broken hard and early.
Yeah.
You know, like, it's just like, oh, what, Shenmue is never going to be finished? Oh, well. It's like, oh, no more Virtua Fighters? Okay. Sonic's going to suck for 20 years? Cool. Like, we're there, you know.
Yeah.
Shinobi, what's that? You know, you know, my favorite stuff is gone.
I honestly can't think of anything that could happen in this industry that would make me act that way. Nothing. You could tell me there's never going to be another Zelda again. There's never going to be another Mario again. There's never going to be another God of War. You could go on and on. None of that.
You could tell me there's never going to be another Metroid again, which I pretty much believed for a while.
None of that would make me
That,
act
by the way, is a good comparison, I think, because I think if Nintendo did it right, Nintendo showed you a logo of Metroid Prime 4. Nothing. It's nothing.
Yeah, there was nothing.
No release date, no hint of anything.
And there was no game there, probably.
And then they showed the Metroid 2 3DS remake, which would have been disappointing to people on its own, I think.
Yeah.
But they learned from Federation Force that you got to put that carrot up there before you hit people with the low-res stick.
I feel like people are upset and disappointed that Blizzard didn't manipulate them.
That's
really what it comes down to.
That is a way to say it, yeah.
They're like,
true.
Dang, you should have manipulated me and, you know, pulled the wool over my eyes instead of telling me what's really going on.
Yeah, well, I think they should have, quote-unquote, leaked Diablo Immortal like a week before the thing. Basically said, like, this is a mobile game, it's coming, we're going to talk about it at BlizzCon, so be ready for it. You know, like, basically, like, prepare yourself. This is the centerpiece.
I think what's bothered me the most through this whole situation is not everybody, but a lot of people are like, oh, they're making this mobile game, so that means that Diablo 4 isn't going to come out now for another, you know, I saw people saying, now 2025 for the next Diablo because it's mobile.
Well, that doesn't make
Even
any
though
sense.
Blizzard was completely upfront saying, this game is farmed out, it's done by somebody, this has no impact whatsoever on when the next Diablo comes out. None.
And then you had Schreier run that article about that they supposedly pulled Diablo 4,
Right.
who was then very forcibly corrected by Blizzard people.
Oh, so he got a bad quote, Schreier did.
I know a couple people related to the situation that basically said, like, he doesn't know what he's talking about.
Oh.
So I think they knew well ahead of time they were not going to show Diablo 4, whatever that is they're working on.
Whatever it was,
now.
yeah.
Because we know that Diablo 3 got, like, torn down to the ground, like, twice during. I mean, they don't finish something unless it's what they think it should be, and they are willing. You know, Blizzard's willing to go pretty far with something before they decide this is not working. We have to start over.
Yeah, I mean, just think of StarCraft Ghost.
Look at Overwatch.
Yeah.
Overwatch was basically like we took the broken shards of Project Titan and made a character shooter out of it. It's like,
hit. Yeah.
So, like, you know, if there's one thing, you know, Blizzard. I mean, I'm hesitant to say Blizzard knows what they're doing as a counterpoint to people being upset about Diablo, because we remember how Diablo 3 launched.
Yeah.
And, like, I think the reaction, the violent, you know, angry reaction and the freak out is stupid, but I don't blame people for being sensitive about Diablo, I guess, because it's been forever.
Yeah, I mean, if you like the franchise and you care about it a lot,
and look, like
you're gonna get emotional about it.
And like there's sort of it's the mobile game thing, the kind of the free to play mobile game thing is almost like a trigger word at this point for people because it's just associated with such an exploitative business model. And I think, you know, for a fandom that was, you know, hurt early on in Diablo 3's life by the horrible implementation of that auction house, it has to feel like, yet again, here is Blizzard, Activision Blizzard, which I've seen written out more often than I have in years this week. You know,
which,
looking
by the way,
again,
the stock has dropped because of
looking
this.
again for a way to screw them with, you know, we have to find a way to leverage modern microtransaction bullshit against the Diablo fan base, and here's our next attempt. Yeah. Like, that's how it's being seen.
The Diablo fans are just lucky that they haven't got attacked with that yet. Everybody else already has.
I have a hard time blaming people for being unhappy about it, but there's a way to deal with disappointment, and this isn't it.
I don't know why they're unhappy. Look, so for me, there's two different perspectives. There's the perspective of the person who's sitting at home watching it on their computer or their TV. Then there's the people who paid to go. And so I look at each group a little differently. The people who are sitting at home on their computers, whining and bitching, F off. The people who paid to go to BlizzCon, I have a little more sympathy for them.
Yeah, I have more sympathy for the people who are paying for a hotel room in Anaheim to see that.
Right.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like it was false advertising on Blizzard's part, but I can still understand why they would be disappointed, because if you spend all that money, especially if you traveled from overseas or even from the East Coast.
Like if you're a Diablo fan and you thought that this was going to be the thing to see, and like you're going to be able to, as a Diablo fan, there's going to be a landmark moment to say you were there for. Yeah. Like I understand why you would be that upset.
I can understand why you'd be upset
about it.
But it's how you channeled the anger.
Yeah.
It, to me, is the problem. On both counts, the people who watch at home and the people who were there. I could totally understand someone who spent a ton of money to go there, hoping, even though Blizzard didn't say it was going to be there, but still, it is BlizzCon, and you hope when you spend that money and you plunk that down on your credit card that there's going to be something magical happening there.
And it's been 6 years.
And honestly, I think maybe
7 years, 6 years, 7 years.
Yeah. And I think maybe part of it is that there were really no big announcements.
No, there wasn't much.
I feel like if the rest of the event had a little more heft to it, then angry people wouldn't have zoned in on this one thing.
Yeah,
like
I think even if they just announced the Diablo 2 remaster, that would almost have been continuity there. Yeah. It's like, we got World of Warcraft Classic, we got Warcraft 3 remaster, we got a Diablo 2 remaster. Remember how good all these things were? It's great, awesome, cool. Like, at least that would have been something to look forward to from like a standard Diablo. You know, I'm a Diablo fan. I like Diablo. I played. I owned Diablo 3 twice for Christ's sake. It's really good. Like, it became really good, I should say. I didn't like it that much at launch, but eventually they turned it into something that was really a lot of fun. Turned into something that was really a lot of fun to play. And so like my reaction to this is I'm disappointed that this, clearly it's a longer wait again for more real Diablo.
But a longer wait than what?
Than maybe if it had been announced now, I guess.
I don't think the wait for the game has changed at all.
No, but it's just
the wait for
the wait hasn't changed. The wait is, you maybe thought that the wait was going to be shorter than it turned out to be. Yeah. It's not like anything changed. It's just
nothing has changed.
Now you have more information, and that information is not good. Like it's not encouraging.
It's not what you wanted.
Right.
I don't think the information's bad or not. I mean, it's just not what they wanted.
Right. Well, I mean, it's not like I don't have anything else to play. Like, it's just,
Exactly.
Diablo Immortal is just another mobile game for me to ignore. Frankly,
yeah.
I mean, unless like people come back with it and it's like, oh my god, this is so much fun. But I don't believe that. I mean, if it was like a Blizzard-made game, that's the irony. Is like, if it was a Blizzard-made game that they were like, we're taking Diablo, we're going to adapt it to a mobile game, and we're going to make it awesome. Great. Yeah. But it's not. It's an existing game that's being, modded into Diablo. Like, so who cares?
I think that's...
Might as well make Diablo Candy Crush at that point.
I think that's the point, though.
I might play
that. Who cares?
That.
Why does anybody care? It's a mobile game. It's not impacting the development of any other stuff at Blizzard. It's being made by some other team in China. When it's done, it's done. Who cares?
It's just people not handling disappointment well.
Yeah, that's really what it comes down to.
And I don't mean to say that like Blizzard didn't do anything. I mean, Blizzard should have known, like in this venue with this audience, that is not the thing. Not just the thing to only mention about Diablo. It's not the thing to close the show with. As I understand, it was the last thing they did.
Yeah.
And then
Blizzard just didn't have anything. I mean, maybe Blizzard should have just canceled BlizzCon, but you can't do that.
No, you can't do that at this point. And I mean, I laughed when that one guy got up and said, like, is this a mistimed April Fool's joke? Which is snide but pretty funny. And then the response was, "Don't you own a phone?" It's like, it was a bad scene. It was a bad look. It was not the way to handle that.
Well, I think it's pretty disrespectful to say something like that to Blizzard, a company that apparently you love so much that you're willing to plunk down a ton of cash to go to their convention.
I thought you were going to say it was disrespectful of the guy on stage to say that to the guy, because
both.
It was.
No, both of them was. I think it was disrespectful of the fan to say that. I mean, he was just being a jerk is what it comes down to.
But he was also...
The response from Blizzard wasn't great, but when you're put in that position on a live stage in front of literally like tens of thousands of people there and watching online...
Yeah, he was.
What's he going to do?
He could address the situation instead of mocking people for not owning a phone.
But they were mocking him, and he's on stage in front of
thousands of people.
No, he
said, "Do you guys not own a phone?"
Right.
Like, it was. He's talking to the people that were booing them. Basically, I mean, it was not a positive. They knew they had not been received well from the moment they mentioned it.
Well, they booed immediately as soon as they announced it.
Yeah.
Although I'm guessing if they had just played that trailer and it didn't come up with a logo and didn't have the part in the end where they showed on a mobile phone and didn't have the name and just said, hey, this is a new Diablo we're working on, people wouldn't have freaked out. And I'm sure if they had just shown that trailer, I don't even know how it played out. I don't know if they said, this is our new Diablo for mobile, and then they played the trailer, or if they just played the trailer.
They did a whole setup where the guy basically said, like, we want to make sure everyone can play, so we're making mobile a 4. I mean, at first it almost sounded like you're going to be playing Diablo 4. If you thought Diablo 4 was what they're talking about, it sounded like there was going to be like a second screen mobile phone component of Diablo 4.
Oh, got you.
And then it's like, hey, so here's this Diablo Immortal, a new mobile game for mobile phone. And it's like, early, it was kind of like this thing where everyone's like, oh, it was just.
I get that.
It was
being disappointed is fine. It's what you do with it after
sure.
you're disappointed.
But I'm just,
that makes all the difference.
I'm not meaning to excuse the reaction. What I'm saying is, if Blizzard didn't know this was what the reaction was going to be in this day and age with this kind of demographic, with how gamers are now, someone should have spoken up in a meeting. That's all I'm saying.
I'm surprised by it, though.
I'm not.
I would have never thought people would react this way.
Then you're not paying attention.
I am paying it. I pay attention more than probably anyone in the world, and I am shocked by this. Like how I'm not surprised that people were disappointed, or I wouldn't have been surprised if someone just went on social media and was like, "Man, I spent all this money to go to BlizzCon, and BlizzCon kind of sucked this year." Get it, totally get it. But we've seen some other level of stuff here. There's thousands of memes going all over the internet, and like.
I think that other level is where the level's been for a while now. Like I think that's not. It's not surprising to me at all. What's surprising?
Outrage culture. Everyone has to find something to be outraged over. No one can just go through their lives and just be like and take the bumps and bruises.
Outrage culture is something different. This is an entitlement problem.
Well, aren't they kind of intertwined with each other?
Somewhat, but not always the same thing. And I don't know who's what in this, but it doesn't surprise me whatsoever. The problem for me is the idea that Blizzard is not reading the room. In this scenario,
I would have not been able to have read that. I don't work at Blizzard, granted. I don't work with their fans as much as they do. But to me, this is not.
Feel free to have me attend the next meetings then, because I would have called this shit months out.
To me, this is not a very big deal, and it's been blown out of. And again, it's one of those things where
none of these people are not going to buy Diablo 4.
Right? Exactly. I know.
In the end,
exactly. I mean, that's the irony of the whole thing. They'll be the first ones in line to buy the game.
It's just sort of all around embarrassing.
It is. Yeah. It's a shit show.
Yeah.
If you could find the definition of a shit show.
I mean, there were Star Citizen fans who were making fun of how BlizzCon wasn't as good as their convention, which is like, there's a bar.
Yeah. You're right, though. It was bad all
Half
around.
their demo at CitizenCon was waiting for trains.
Yeah. Yeah, the fans shouldn't have reacted the way it did. Blizzard shouldn't have blown back at the fans the way it did in public
and
on
Blizzard
stage.
should have had a bone to throw.
Yeah.
Even if it was just a Diablo 2 remaster announcement. It didn't have to be Diablo 4. But I don't think you're hurting anyone if you're saying, like, hey, Diablo 4 is coming. It's a long way out. We're working on it, though. Like, it's a thing. Here's a logo. It's got rainbows on it. Like,
I think there's a whole lot of people who need to go outside.
They did go outside. They went to Anaheim, and they got shown a mobile game. Stay inside next time.
Seriously, I think there's too many people that are spending way too much time online, in front of screens. And look, I do it too because I have to. It's my job. But people need to get out and press the reset button a little bit on their digital lives. Like, because you're in this bubble, you're insulated with all these other people who are angry and just looking for something to lash out at. When you get away, and that's one of the reasons why when I go home for the holidays, I just completely disconnect. I don't go on Twitter. I don't go on Facebook. I go home and I spend FaceTime with my family. I spend FaceTime with my old friends.
Doesn't your family live in like some kind of rural shack somewhere with no internet?
No, they do not. In fact, they do not. I think people need that time.
You're a long drive though, for out in the middle of nowhere, aren't you? I thought.
What do you mean?
I thought when you go home, like you gotta like rent a car and drive out.
Oh, I rent a car in Washington D.C. and then I'll drive up to Pennsylvania. It's like a 2-hour drive or something. But it's not like where my parents live is the boonies. They live in the capital of Pennsylvania, basically, near Harrisburg. So I just know that for me, it's very good to disconnect every once in a while and get away from the hive mind, the outrage culture, all the crazy crap that's going on online, because it gives you a new perspective on everything, not just what's going on online, but on life and priorities and what's really important. I think Pack in this week's episode, he made a really good point. He's like, what is life about? Is it about arguing with people online about stupid crap, or is it about your family and your friends and those interpersonal, real relationships that you have in your life? And I just feel like a lot of people are losing focus of what's really important in life, and they're dedicating way too much time, energy, anger to stuff that doesn't matter. It doesn't freaking matter. It's a mobile Diablo game. You don't have to play it. You never will. Fine. It's not affecting the game that you wanted. It just, to me, I just don't get it. It's just, I'm not wired that way, and it just doesn't make any sense to me at all. I'm a little more sympathetic to the people who were there in person, who spent money to go there, because it was honestly probably the worst BlizzCon in the last 8 years or something.
It was a very anemic announcement.
Yeah, I mean,
BlizzCon.
So I understand that. I understand their disappointment. It's expensive to come out to California, especially if you're flying from some. I understand that. It's the keyboard warriors that I've never understood it. I never will, I guess. And it's just another case where they've just completely lost me. So I don't know, people. Take a breath. Take a step back. They're just video games. They really are just video games.
You should probably save that for the end of the show.
Yeah. They're all ones and zeros.
Don't go outside yet.
Yeah. Well, actually, if you want to go outside and vote, go.
Well, yeah.
But
only to vote.
The other big announcement at BlizzCon was a remaster of Warcraft 3. Mm-hmm. I have not played Warcraft 3.
Wow.
Yeah, I've never played it. It's one of those missing gaps in my play history that I regret, and I always want to rectify it, and I never have, and now maybe this gives me reason to do so.
I used to play Warcraft 3 in a game lab at Tech TV with Greg Bemis every Wednesday.
A lot of people say it's like one of the best games
ever. It was very good. But that's also an indication of the idea that we had time every Wednesday to play Warcraft with each other was that was before the show went 3 days a week. Mm-hmm. When we just did 1/2 hour each week, and oh boy, that was a different workload.
Easy street.
Yeah. But yeah, we played a lot of Warcraft 3. It was good. I was not good at it, but I enjoyed it for the most part. And the story was good. It's basically the run up to the Wrath of the Lich King in World of Warcraft. Just go, and it's one of the few things that you can't really play anymore unless you have a physical copy laying around.
Yeah.
So it's a good move.
Do you think the fans were happy with this?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't see anybody upset about it.
Yeah. Because you were talking about Diablo 2 remake, and they did get this, which a lot of people consider one of the greatest RPGs of all time.
Well, this isn't an RPG; it's a RTS, but proto MOBA. But I think you might be dealing with fairly different fandoms as well.
That's true.
Diablo fans aren't necessarily Warcraft fans, which aren't necessarily World of Warcraft fans, oddly enough. But it's interesting to see Blizzard looking back so much, between WoW Classic and this and the rumored Diablo remasters. Hell, at this point, Diablo 3 is almost as old as Diablo 2 was when Diablo 3 came out.
That's true.
But it makes sense. It's also a method of preservation. The more you can get all this stuff onto whatever it's not BattleNet anymore. Whatever they call that.
It is actually. They reverted back to BattleNet. Again? Okay. Yeah, they went back.
Wise.
Because their fans once again freaked out.
Well, also because he got a name.
It's been there for 15 years?
Yeah. Why would you change that?
We said that on this show whenever they announced it. We were like, "That's insane. It makes no sense whatsoever." And Blizzard ultimately relented and went back.
And it's not even like they changed it to the Activision Blizzard app. It was just it's the Blizz app.
Yeah.
Now. It's well, why? I know BattleNet's kind of a random name to some degree because it doesn't have Blizzard in it or whatever. But that's what you named it in 1996 or whatever. And
it's like GeoCities and all those crappy websites from the 90s.
That was the thing was no one else had that kind of service except for maybe MPlayer. Yeah. And so you could call it BattleNet because that was the only place to battle on the net.
Well, also back then URLs were like that were available. You could get battle.net back then.
Right.
Maybe they were looking at how much it's worth now, and we're like, maybe we should just sell it and rebrand it. Not that Blizzard needs any money or anything.
No, I think they're good. But that's fun. It's like a bunch. You've got basically 2 remasters in a mobile game, and Overwatch is the only game that feels like it's moving forward out of the announcements there.
Because they kind of ignored Heroes of the Storm.
Yeah, I didn't see anything.
Yeah, there wasn't really any big announcements for that, and we're actually. I'll just spoil it for you now. Our trailer of the week this week is for the big character reveal for Overwatch. They actually put out like 3 trailers for the new character.
Yeah,
Ash.
a few things. Clearly, Overwatch is where the eggs are in the basket.
Absolutely.
They know what side the bread is buttered, and other food metaphors. But you can see, like, they know, like, that's where they got to focus right now.
Yeah.
And they got the new expansions out for Warcraft, and that's cool and all. But like,
it's doing very well. Apparently.
Like fastest selling ever. Or something
Yeah,
like that.
it's like the most players they've had in like 7 years or something like that.
Yeah. Well, it seemed to appeal. I mean, I would probably not go back to World of Warcraft again, just because I played.
You know how much I love MMOs.
I played World of Warcraft mostly out of peer pressure.
Yeah.
It was a thing where, like, I mean,
everyone was doing it.
Well, I mean, honestly,
that's why I tried it.
I tried it originally, and I liked it, but I only played a little bit. And then it was around the time, right around the time Wrath of the Lich King came out, Morgan actually said, like, we're all going to play this. You're playing it, and I want to play this, so you're going to play it, and you're all going to play it. So we all played World of Warcraft with her until she didn't want to play anymore. I mean, I maxed out a Paladin.
Did you?
I was. You
were in there.
Oh, I was leading the charge. At one point, I remember we were doing.
Did you ever go on a raid?
Yeah, we did a raid. We didn't succeed, but we did. We did do a raid. I never got into the high level stuff with any MMO. I just find it tedious.
Yeah,
and,
I find the entire genre tedious.
Well, yeah, it's all about the social experience, and if you get to a point where nobody wants, it was right in the middle of the show's heyday, and like, there's a point at which you just can't get enough people together to do that on a regular and nightly basis, and it's sort of but we'd all hit the level cap. We'd done a few things. We'd done like the high level stuff. There wasn't that much to do then in comparison to now. And we felt, everyone kind of felt like, we got it. We did it. We did what we had to do, and now we're going to put it down. Except for one guy who basically kept gaming the auction house on his own for like the next 6 months. And he was really good at it. I mean, I remember I logged in a few months later, and he's like, hey, he just like piled all this like super rare shit on me. He's like, yeah, I got tons. He's like, I've just been like gaming the entire auction house system for months.
That was like the first time one of my friends told me that they had done the Meseta trick in Phantasy Star Online. And I met him in a lobby, and he handed me more money than I had ever earned in playing the game like 10 hours a day for like 2 months. He's like, here you go. And I was like, what?
None of it matters.
And to be honest with you, MMOs, that's another hole in my play history. I have never played an MMO long enough to really get what they're about. I tried WoW like 3 different times. Lord of the Rings Online, everyone was like, this is the one you're going to like. And I tried that, and I lasted like 2 days. The Star Wars MMO, I played that for like a couple days.
Which
and
one?
I've never been able to stick with it. Republic or
Old Republic?
Yeah, Old Republic, yeah.
Galaxies has its fan base.
I tried that too, actually.
But I found Galaxies to be impenetrable.
I tried Galaxies for like 2 days. I got like a free copy of it. I'm like, I might as well give it a spin. And 2 days, I was like, I'm done. Like, I've never managed to make it through that initial stage with an MMO where they're just telling you over and over, now go over here and kill 5 wolves and come back. Now go over here and kill 8 bunnies and come back. I've never made it past that part of the MMO to really figure out. It never changes.
Not really.
That's why I've never.
Well, that's the thing is they're not fun to play. Like in general, I don't find them fun to play.
They're kind of like elaborate chat rooms in a way.
Yeah, they're social experiences, or like in the case of Old Republic, that was very World of Warcrafty, but it was story driven, and if you found the story interesting, it was a pretty good game.
Yeah,
I played fairly extensively on Secret World because I like the setting and I like the story. But you would just find it annoying.
Yeah.
I played a lot of MMO. I played Lord of the Rings Online, tried to get into that. It just didn't work for me. I played Terra and Shadowbane and Star Trek Online. And Star Trek Online is actually pretty good. That's kind of an action ship-based combat thing. That's pretty good. You might want to try that at some point if you have any tolerance for Star Trek.
Little
free to play.
I am definitely a Star Wars over a Star Trek guy.
Me too, but free to play. It's free to play, and you can get through the whole game without spending any money. Like it's all right there. I did, and so did Lawrence, my friend Lawrence, and he doesn't play MMOs at all. He's just a Star Trek nerd to like an nth degree, and I'm like, try this. He's like,
I mean, even Star Wars couldn't get me into MMOs.
Yeah.
That's when I knew. I was like, wait a minute, I'm not enjoying playing a Star Wars MMO.
Well, you could argue that the first Star Wars MMO was not any good for anyone who wasn't already pretty well versed in what passed for the genre at the time.
Yeah.
And God damn it, let the Wookiee dance. And Old Republic was I loved it, but like it was KOTOR with like bad gameplay. Like and it was much better now. I mean, now it's like, you know, it's very solo based. You don't have to team up with people to get through story missions anymore. It's a much more rapid ascent. Like you can, you know, and they have like crazy weekends and weeks where it's like 15 times experience. So like you burn through the story in like a day.
Yeah.
You know, it's like
You just level up.
That's
so
the way
fast.
to do it.
Yeah.
You know? And because when it initially launched, it was like you had to do every single thing you could possibly do
Just
to
get,
stay at the level you had to
right.
be to do all this stuff. And they did a huge revamp at one point where basically you can just follow the story critical path and never do any outside stuff, and you'll level up enough to do everything.
They do that with a lot of online games.
Yeah,
They do it with Call of Duty now, like the double XP weekends.
Yeah, the
It's
streamlining the streamlining was pretty notable. I mean, the Old Republic, I would say, was around the time of when they did that. It was around the time a lot of MMOs were being like, hey, maybe we should make these like more accessible, especially since people pretty much see the end game as the real game, and like the journey to the level cap is really just sort of like the tutorial almost. Yeah, I'll probably not go back to World of Warcraft, although like I'm moderately curious to see World of Warcraft Classic.
Oh yeah,
Just because like it was so weird to.
Well, after fighting against the community for all this time.
Yeah, now they finally decided to do it. And when that launched, it was a good deal. It was funny to see how people got like obsessed and locked in on that thing.
So here's the question.
Even the reviewers got a little crazy about it at the time.
Yeah.
Like the people got in early were just like, yeah, I'm level 30. You can't beat me now. So beat you at what? Like we don't. I'm still killing sheep. I'm a fucking mage in the first area.
So, is there any way we give BlizzCon anything but an F?
Probably not. I mean, unless you're an Overwatch fan.
And we don't give Fs for conventions like ever.
Yeah.
I don't think either one of us have ever given an F.
Well, I wasn't there, so I don't know if I can really rate it.
Well, we're not at a lot of them, but we still score them.
But what I saw was pretty much. I mean, yeah, pretty much.
Maybe I give it a D because of the Overwatch stuff.
I give it a D or D minus for Ash is pretty cool, and I do want to play the Warcraft 3 remaster.
Yeah.
But just like not a lot of foresight happening there. Like a distinct inability to read the room. I don't know if that photo of the empty Diablo demo section was actually real.
Right.
Or if somebody just found a picture of it before they opened it or something.
Right.
But like, that was pretty sad.
Yeah. So yeah, Blizzard needs to do better next year.
I feel like you'd probably come away with this having learned something if you're Blizzard.
Blizzard, you can't do the show unless you have something to show. I mean, that's really what Blizzard learned, I think, is that...
And if you don't have anything to show, give away really cool stuff.
Right.
And
just having the event because you've always had the event is not a good idea. Because people still have expectations.
Yeah.
And now it's been shown, if Blizzard doesn't live up to expectations, there's going to be a lot of backlash.
And I think maybe they should have learned something from Bethesda's E3 conference this year, where Bethesda really didn't have a whole lot.
Yeah.
But they knew that they had to kind of, blow the lid off Starfield and Elder Scrolls 6 to kind of be like, here's something coming. It's a long way out, but we hear you. It's here. Don't worry about it.
Again,
there'll be more later.
Please manipulate me.
Pretty much.
If you don't, I'll be mad.
Yeah, or just give me, throw us a bone. Like that's all you got to do. And like, I mean, look at Nintendo. Nintendo's just all they've done is show you a logo of Metroid Prime 4 for 2 years.
Yeah,
and
that's all there was. When
everyone's like, "Oh, I really want it," but like, well, at least it's coming. It's oddly soothing to the fan base to like just be like, "Here it is."
Even though you already knew.
Yeah.
I mean, look, everybody knows another Diablo is coming.
Yeah, but it's an uncertain world.
I mean, the world would have to end for there not to be another Diablo game.
Ironically, that is what Diablo would like.
The world would have to end for there to not be another StarCraft. Like, these games are coming, so they needed some video with a logo on it to make them feel okay. I don't know. It's really weird when you think about the psychology behind it.
I think
it's not just Blizzard. I mean, like you brought up with Nintendo, same deal with like Metroid Prime. It's like people just want to know for sure.
They want to know for sure they have something to look forward to because they don't trust anything ananymore, I guess.
Yeah, which, hey, fair enough.
Yeah.
I guess I can understand that part of it. All right, let's move on. We're going to talk next about Smash Brothers.
I mean, Diablo 3 sold 30 million copies. There's no way another one isn't coming.
Yeah, and Diablo 4 is going to sell another 30 million, despite all these people whining and moaning and complaining about it. So next year, I have a feeling Diablo 4 will be a BlizzCon.
Could be.
That's a safe bet. All right, so let's move
And
on.
it'll be first.
We're going to talk about Smash Brothers. Nintendo did a huge Nintendo Direct for Smash Brothers right after we had recorded last week's episode, so we have not been able to talk about it. The final, at least according to Nintendo, it's the final bit of information we're getting about Smash Brothers. Basically, Nintendo just putting the cap on it and saying, okay, all that's left now is to wait for the release. And Nintendo really blew it out. It announced a ton of stuff for Smash Brothers. We're just going to go through it and try to discuss each of the... There's basically three big things that it announced. So the first thing was several new characters. So it announced Ken. Ken is an echo character of Ryu.
Yep.
But he does have a lot of his own attacks.
Yeah, the Echo Fighters are not direct clones. They generally have a couple of unique things to them.
Yeah, he has some unique attacks, and the way the attacks work that he does share with Ryu, they're also changed. As far as the amount of damage that they do, or how much damage you don't take, things like that.
Yeah, it's very true to the way they're depicted in Street Fighter.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. It's pretty much the same way that they are in Street Fighter. Are you a Ryu guy or a Ken guy in Street Fighter?
Ryu.
I'm a Ken. Yeah, it's funny how basically they're kind of the same character, but people are very strongly opinionated.
Yeah. Well, they're totally different characters in how they play.
Yeah.
Like Ryu's a fireball zoner, and Ken is an in-your-face rushdown.
Yeah.
Usually, I mean,
with
on
the
average.
crazy helicopter kick.
Yeah.
But for whatever reason, I've always been a Ken guy because I like that upside down scissor thing that he does. I got good at doing it. I could fire it off every time. I think that's a big part of it too. Is like, which one were you better with? I was better with Ken than I was with Ryu. And so for me, I always chose Ken, and I always played Ken instead of choosing Ryu.
Because they were identical originally.
Right, yeah. At first they were. But over time, I think over time they've separated more and more.
Oh, yeah. Like the first separation was in Champion Edition, where they made his uppercut was a little stronger and Ryu's fireball was a little stronger.
Yeah.
And that's how they've sort of diverged over time.
Now we're seeing the second character that was announced. Incineroar, which is a Pokemon from Pokemon Sun and Moon, I believe.
I think it's the final the third evolution or the final evolution of one of the starters.
A very weird character. I mean, kind of all the new Pokemon are weird at this point.
Yeah, I mean, they got to do something to keep it fresh.
Well, they got to do something just to make something different.
Yeah.
And when you start thinking about all the permutations and combinations you need to create that many characters for the same franchise.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes they bunt.
Oh, yeah.
There's the one that's just like a trash bag with a face on it. Like it's like, and it like evolves to be a bigger trash bag.
That's like Rare's theory of character creation. Just stick some eyeballs on it, and you've got a video game.
Yeah, if it was
character.
drunk, it would be a rare character.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. A hiccuping broom or whatever. And then the final new character they announced was Piranha Plant.
Yeah.
Which is from the Mario franchise, which seems like a really weird character to be in a fighting game because they don't move.
Yeah, they hop around, I guess.
Do they?
Wasn't one of them was in a Mario Kart game at some point?
Yeah, but he was in a car.
Yeah,
that moved for him.
You can hop around.
Yeah, I think it's weird.
A little Shop of Horrors thing.
Yeah, it seemed odd. There's so many other characters that they could have put in there still, despite how huge this roster is. It seemed like maybe they are starting to reach the law.
I mean, also like
returns.
he seemed fairly strongly based on like the first boss in like Mario Galaxy, which did walk around.
Yeah, you're right. It did. That's right.
So like, I mean, it was funny. One of the pro Smash players like retweeted a tweet of his from like February where he's like he had a weird dream. He was at a tournament and none of the characters he normally uses were available, but the Piranha Plant was for some reason playable. So he picked that and played that in the tournament. And now he's like,
funny.
what the hell? Like.
You can take over for Miss Cleo. And then, so those are the characters. When they do start doing DLC, each character is going to be $6.
Which the Piranha Plant's DLC?
Yeah.
Is that right? Okay.
Yeah, so that character will cost $6. And any solo character is going to cost $6. That seems like a lot to me.
It's a lot.
Is that typical for fighting games?
Yeah, that's about.
It's
I mean, like
$5 or $6.
$5 to $8 in there.
That seems like a lot to me. But you can pay $25 and get 5. So you get $1 off each one if you buy the 5. Yeah, you save $5 or whatever. So that's how the DLC is going to work. Yeah, they didn't announce any other DLC characters yet.
I mean, I figure this is sort of the plan moving forward that like this game is going to be a platform.
It's a service, yeah. It's a game as a service.
Sakurai clearly doesn't want to make any more of these things.
He said it. He said he didn't want to make it anymore.
Like so, like I figure this Smash Ultimate is probably just going to be ported forward forever.
Yeah. It's a platform is
Yeah.
what it's going to be, and it'll just go on. Into
This will be
Nintendo.
Smash Brothers from now on.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm not 100% sure on that because it's Nintendo.
Yeah, well, I mean, you'd have to buy it again for the next system.
Right.
But it
yeah.
would be basically the same
Same
thing.
game. Yeah, which what they did with. I mean, this is basically the Wii U game with a bunch of new features.
Well, and also all of the games. I mean,
Right.
it's everything that's
Yeah,
ever been in
that's true.
Smash Brothers all in one game. It's a giant remaster, remake / collection / nostalgia tribute. It's
ultimate.
It's ultimate.
Yeah, that's a perfect name.
You can't go further than ultimate.
Nope, you can't. Although Nintendo will try.
They'll call it like Ultimate
XD
Veda or use like some kind of Latin to take the Capcom page out.
Well, I mean, it's the Nintendo page because Nintendo's been porting everything from Wii U to Switch, and then they give it that deluxe moniker or whatever to delineate itself from the original version.
Or just at least it's better than Smash Brothers for the Wii U. It was literally the title
It
of
really
the last one. It's just like, okay. It's like Melee, Brawl for the Wii U. Okay.
What? No, it wasn't that. No, you're right. It was. It even had like the Wii U on the box.
Yeah, it was the actual title.
It's crazy. And then they showed off 2 modes for the first time. The first one we're going to talk about is Spirit Mode. Spirit Mode is insane. It's it basically replaces the trophies and event mode all in one new feature. Basically, what the spirits are is their buffs. They're equipable buffs that you can equip to any of your characters. And
I like the stickers. In the last one.
And it legitimately increases the abilities of that character.
Yeah. Typically, they like in a tournament setting, they don't have that.
I would hope not. You can turn it off and on, but it will work in all modes. But you can toggle it on or off if you want to. Once you assign a spirit to your character, it actually levels up. So that buff becomes more powerful the more you use a character that has that buff attached to it. You can only have one buff attached to a character at a time, so you don't have this whole bevy of buffs attached to each character. It's one at a time. But then you evolve that buff as if it's a character in an RPG, which seems absolutely crazy. Not only that, the spirits really are kind of like Pokemon in a way, or maybe Chow from the Sega, from Sonic the Hedgehog is a better comparison. But they evolve. Over time, if you keep using them, just like a Pokemon, they'll level up, and then they'll evolve into a brand new form. It's pretty insane how meta the whole thing is. You can train the spirits via expeditions, or there's a dojo that you can use to train them that, again, will help them level up if you just don't want to use them in regular gameplay. And like I said, you can toggle it on or off for any of the game modes in the game. It seems crazy complicated. I'm sure once you have it in your hands, it'll make a lot more sense, and you're just kind of messing around with it. You'll probably figure everything out in a couple hours. But listening to Nintendo and Sakurai try to explain it, it's pretty freaking crazy. This demo that they showed during the Direct is 7 minutes long, and it's like this. It's just one thing after another, just all these features that are rolled up into it. But it doesn't replace or create or provide a true single-player campaign. So I guess that's the one caveat. The other major mode that was announced by Nintendo is called the World of Light Adventure Mode. And this mode is the closest thing that it has to a story mode. It stars Kirby, but... As
they have in the past.
Yeah, I don't know why. Why is that? Because he can just turn it in.
Because they're the ones who make it.
Oh, right, it's HAL. That's a good point. I never even thought about that.
Oh, yeah, Kirby's the main man in this, whether you like it or not.
It is really weird. But he is the star of World of Light. Basically, you venture through various Nintendo lands, but according to Nintendo and according to reports, there's really no plot in it. There's a big cinematic that kind of kicks things off, and there's a cinematic, I guess, at the end if you finish it, but otherwise it's not really story-driven per se. I don't know how you do that, but...
It seems like kind of a world map sort of thing.
Yeah.
Then you go through various Nintendo worlds and stuff. I don't know. It could be fun. I mean, I'm just happy to see some form of campaign back after they basically disappeared in the last one.
It sounds like they're trying to temper enthusiasm for it, though.
Yeah.
Because you show like a crazy CG trailer like this, people are going to assume that it's some awesome single-player
Yeah, they're going to
campaign
assume it's Subspace Emissary
right,
again.
Right. And I still don't understand why that went away and never came back.
I don't know. Like,
really doesn't
it
make
wasn't.
any sense.
It was kind of a mediocre
It
experience, but like the cutscenes you got where all the characters teamed up was pretty awesome. Like,
Yeah.
So yeah, it was worth playing just to see all that. I don't know. I guess we'll see what it's like. It does. It seems to have a fairly robust amount of single player content, which is good.
It does, absolutely. Which is great. I mean, to be honest with you, it's just robust, period. This game is, for a fighting game, is gigantic. I don't know if I can think of another more full-featured fighting game ever. Can you?
I think the most recent Mortal Kombat was up there.
Yeah, the stuff from NetherRealm.
Yeah.
You're right. Probably the only fighting franchise that really trumps what Nintendo's doing with Smash Brothers, because you have a legitimate story mode there.
Yeah.
Injustice, Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, and Injustice 2 had the kind of the daily stuff where, like, you know, the different colliding worlds give you a different challenge every day. There's a lot to do. NetherRealm steps up and does it pretty well. I mean, there's also like, you know, like some of the BlazBlue games have story modes that last hours and hours and hours. And I mean, was it that one? Was it BlazBlue the most the BlazBlue Guilty Gear, one of the most recent ones? Like, basically, like early on they have a recap of like the story so far in the series, and it warns you that it's going to be like 40 minutes long. Like, it's gonna be like, hey, are you sure you want to hear this, because it's in depth and it's pretty crazy. But like, I would say NetherRealm is still the gold standard. But we'll see what this is once our hands are on it and how in depth it gets. I don't think they need to get really as in-depth with the story as NetherRealm does, in part because it's sort of like a...
Because it's Smash Brothers.
Because it's Smash Brothers, but also because it's just like... an excuse to have everybody cross over like that is going to end up being pretty silly, so it might be smarter just to have it be more of kind of like a rudimentary narrative framework, and then like just come up with a bunch of interesting challenges for people to do to clear out a map and call it a day.
Yeah, because I mean, ultimately, you're just playing Smash over and over and over again.
Like the Subspace Emissary was a cool idea, but it was basically a mediocre Kirby game that lasted like 12 hours.
Yeah. Which is probably better than what we're going to get
better than nothing.
Here, let's be honest. Yeah. But you're right. At least there is some significant single-player content to play through. And do these announcements change your perspective on the game at all?
Not really.
Yeah, me either.
I mean,
I assumed it was going to be a big game, and it's actually bigger than I thought it was going to be. But ultimately, I'm not a big fan of playing Smash. So, and all this stuff just comes down to, hey, here's some dialogue. Now go fight another round.
I mean,
of
at
Smash.
least it feels full featured, and it doesn't feel like they're trying to nickel and dime it.
Yeah, I mean, you're gonna get your money's worth. If you're a Smash fan, definitely getting your cash.
Like the DLC characters are pretty pricey, but it's not like I have to jump in on the Piranha Plant right away.
Well, you don't have to jump in on any. There's like
plenty of stuff
1,000 characters in this game. I saw in the Nintendo Direct, they briefly popped up the character select screen when everything's unlocked. Holy crap!
It's a lot.
Holy crap!
It's a good thing we're in the HD era.
You wouldn't be able to tell what they are.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not kidding.
Yeah.
There are that many. And one thing that I do think is cool is when you first boot up the game, you get the same original, I think, 8 characters from the first Smash, and you have to unlock everything else. So they're kind of going back to the first game there. Was it 8? Yeah, 8 characters.
Something like that, yeah.
Smash. So you start with that original base, and you have to unlock everything. So plenty of stuff to play through, unlock. If you love Smash, I mean, you don't have to buy another game for a really, really long time. Some other notes.
Good thing looking at the schedule, because this is about it for the year at the end.
Yeah. A couple other small notes that were brought up in the Nintendo Direct. Real matchmaking based on actual skill this time. All driven by GSP. Before, it was driven partially by GSP, but really a lot of it, like Nintendo will forego really good matchmaking to make sure people don't have to sit there a long time waiting for a match to start.
Well, we'll see. Now that people are paying for the online, hopefully they step it up a little bit.
They better. I mean, expectations are going to go up. They're not going to be able to do the same stuff they've been doing, and people are going to be happy with it now that they paid for it.
Yeah, well, they're still got the money, so...
Yeah, that's true.
What are people going to do, not buy Smash Brothers?
Well, I wouldn't, but... I mean...
You're a rare duck.
Well, are you going to buy it?
Yeah, probably.
I mean, Nintendo's probably going to send it to me, so we're going to obviously cover it. I'm just not a fan of Smash Brothers. I would, if I had to buy it, I would not buy it.
I think, yeah, I'm not like a huge Smash Brothers fan, but like the definitive nature of it is appealing. The fact that there's an actual single player kind of campaignish thing to do is appealing. Castlevania being in it is good. Yeah, I'm not against it. I mainly bought the Wii U. Finally got the Wii U with Smash Brothers being in the bundle for Black Friday.
That's right.
Like,
yeah, I forgot about that.
I enjoy it. I'm just like not hardcore about it, you know.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of it, but I respect people who do like it, and I obviously can see that this game is absolutely gigantic, and they're going to love it.
I spent a fair amount of my time in the old 90s Usenet days arguing with people that this is a fighting game.
Yeah.
Back when people refused to call it a fighting game.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people considered it like an action platformer.
They called it a party game.
Right.
Whatever that. I mean, it is a party game in the sense that it's a good game for parties, but like it's a fighting game. It's always been a fighting game. Like trying to say otherwise is ridiculous to me.
Some people have very rigid definitions of what things are or aren't.
And I say that as someone who like doesn't like watching people play it and is eminently bored of it being part of Evo. But it's a fighting game. Like there's no way around it.
Yep. I mean, if by that definition you would say all arena brawlers aren't fighting games, but I think a lot of people look at fighting games as it's just one character versus one character on this very confined.
Well, the big argument back in the day was that the life bar didn't matter.
Right.
But like it wasn't. You know, you had to knock somebody down to nothing, and when they get to nothing, the game is
smash
over.
them, yeah.
You know, that's a fighting game. You run out of life bar, you're dead. The round is over. Whereas this is more fluid. But you know, I think fighting games have become a little more innovative and done different things over the years since then. And the idea that Smash is not a fighting game is a much more minority opinion at this point.
Absolutely. Final note before we move on. One of the things they announced was Smash World, which is like a little mini social network for Smash Brothers.
Smash World!
Where you can upload gameplay videos and stuff like that.
Sure, cool. Never use it.
Yeah. It's like the Miiverse. I used that the first day and never went back to it ever again.
Wasn't there some kind of implication that that sort of thing is going to be, there's going to be something like that for every game as part of the service?
Probably. And
Nintendo's probably the first thing that has something like that.
Yeah, that's my guess. Yeah, they're going to debut their new online program in a lot of ways with Smash Brothers. I mean, keep in mind, you're going to have to pay to play this online, folks. I know you've been playing Smash Brothers for free online all these years, but not anymore.
The salad days are over.
Yep, you're going to have to join Nintendo Online if you want to play it online. And you bet Nintendo better hope it's got
$20 a year for these reindeer games.
Yeah, I mean, Nintendo better make sure it's got itself in order. It's got its servers up in, because dude, there's going to be a deluge of people hitting those servers.
Yeah, there's going to be a flood.
Like Nintendo probably has never seen with an online game before.
Probably, yeah.
I mean, so it better be ready, and I'm assuming it is. It's not stupid. So, I don't know, Smash. I mean, again, I'm not a fan of Smash Brothers, but this Smash Brothers game looks freaking awesome. Like, if you're a fan, I would be geeking out right now about this game, counting the days for it to come out. So, looking good. Ultimately, I mean, maybe the game will prove me wrong. Maybe when I get it, I'll give it a go, and it'll change my mind, but probably not.
Yeah, I don't think they're really changing the formula too much.
Yeah, which I wouldn't want them to, because there's so many people that love it exactly the way it is, and I wouldn't want to take that away from them. So there you go. The last info on Smash Brothers before we get the final code, and we'll talk about it on the show then. Let's move on. We're going to talk very briefly about an indie game. We don't talk about indie games that much on GameFace. Mm-hmm. Every once in a while, Matt and I will play one of them, and it'll kind of spark something, and we'll want to talk about it. And Matt has been playing an indie game, a side-scrolling indie game called Planet Alpha this week.
Which I thought came out this week, but I guess it came out in September?
Yeah, it had come out September 4th for, I know at least for PC and PS4, and you've been playing it on Xbox One, right?
Well, I was poking around in new game section, new releases section, it was in there. And it looked, you know, if anyone has been listening to the show regularly, you know why I bought this, because it has that weird, colorful sort of French space opera comic, weird otherworldly planet thing going on.
It looks really interesting.
It's neat, but it was in the new releases section, and I think what happened was I thought it came out because I was looking at it on November 3rd, at the evening of November 3rd, and I thought it came out on the 4th, which I thought was weird because that was a Saturday,
right,
or maybe a Sunday. And what I think I did is I saw 9/4, and I thought it was because a lot of times I've made this mistake my whole life. I think October is 8. because of
Oct.
because of Octo.
That's funny.
And so I continually
It
write
probably
down.
should be the 8th
I
month.
continually write. It used to be.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Is that true?
That's why it's called October.
I did not know that. I never
September
knew
is 7, October is 8, November is 9,
that.
December
See the
is
stuff
10.
you learn when you watch GameFace.
But everything shifted at some point.
Interesting.
Damn Gregorian calendar. The Julian calendar was different. But so a lot of times I will miss, even when I'm writing checks or whatever, I'll if it's October, I will write 8
Wow.
for the day. So I think I thought it was, oh, that comes out tomorrow.
Right.
So it was just in the new releases because, relatively speaking, it is kind of new.
Yeah.
It's only 2
Well,
months
it's got
old.
good reviews. It's Metacritic right now is like 7, almost 7 to 8 or something.
So this game is basically it's a side-scrolling platformer puzzle game. It's basically Inside on another planet, if you remember Inside.
Yeah.
It is not as good as Inside. It has
That's a pretty lofty goal to reach.
yeah. It has a lot more. It has like a lot of stealthy puzzle things and like climbing around, avoiding things that kill you in one shot. I'm about halfway through it. There's a couple times I get killed a bunch of times by something that I'm trying to get past, and I just sort of go like, why? And I just sort of turn it off.
Wait, is it why did you die, or is it why am I playing
Why
this?
am I playing this? Because I'm kind of here to see this like amazing art direction,
Right.
and like I find the actual puzzle gameplay sort of by turns annoying and boring.
That's been a pretty common complaint with the game.
But like the imagination on display
It
is
looks
amazing.
really cool.
Yeah, like this
It
section's
doesn't
really
look
cool.
like
Where
any other game.
this section's really cool, where you're in like this other area, and those blocks, like all the physics in that area, are completely different than the rest of the game, and you're like leaping like hundreds of yards to like do all this. So it's a visual tour de force that doesn't really do a whole lot new in the gameplay department, and you have no like offensive ability. You can't punch, you can't do anything but jump and climb.
That's it.
And like
So you're basically avoiding danger.
yeah, so
most
you're
of the time.
like early on, you're clearly some kind of space explorer, and you're running around, and you activate a thing, and a bunch of robot monsters with red eyes come down and start trying to shoot you, and you have to avoid them. It's kind of like No Man's Sky as a side scroller almost. But you run through like some crazy biomes and like this hive full of alien monster insect things, and like they don't like the robots either, so you have to kind of manipulate the two of them to fight each other so you can get past stuff. There's a time control thing where like when you get on certain platforms, you hold the triggers and like the day-night cycle happens really fast, and you have to use that to solve puzzles sometimes. Like in the daytime, the foliage will spring up more, so you can use that as cover to sneak around. And,
Interesting.
stuff like that. So there's some things in there. It's like some interesting ideas in terms of like the biomes and the design of the planet, but nothing that you probably haven't seen before in various other games. But I would say if you look at this and you think it like you're looking at this and being like, wow, that looks really neat. Like you'll find something to like in it, especially if you liked Inside. Just don't expect it to be as good as Inside, but it's pretty darn good.
How much was it?
It was 15. I think it's normally 20.
Do you know how? And so it's starting to go down in price now that it's been out. For
It
a
was
little
on sale. It was on sale, which I mistook for like a pre-order bonus or something.
Ah, got ya.
So I think it's just $5 off right now on Xbox.
Worth it?
Yeah, I don't regret it. I get tired of that kind of like hold to the right until you get interrupted by an annoying puzzle that you then have to figure out, and then you're like, it's a lot of the puzzles in this like haven't been like in Inside you'd figure it out and be like, oh, wow, okay, that's cool, I get it. And this one's like,
Oh, really?
It's just like,
That's
really?
what you
That
wanted
was
me
it?
to do?
Yeah.
I hate that.
You want me to move that block to that block and then this block to okay.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. I mean, I'm only halfway through it, so there might be better stuff coming up. But
How long have you played it so far?
Like an hour and a half.
Oh,
it's
so
not
it's
super. It's
short.
not super long. I mean, I mean, the chapters. I'm on chapter 5 of 10. The chapters might get more time consuming as they get more difficult, but like
That's a tough sell. 3 or 4 hours for $15.
it's longer than a movie.
That's a good point. Yeah. For whatever reason, the scale is different with games. Than it
Yeah,
is
I don't
for
know what
film.
that's about.
Yeah.
Like it's like that little.
The entertainment per dollar quotient is different for games.
Yeah, it's weird. It's like I'll pay $17 to see something like opening night for a movie.
90 minutes.
Actually, twice that if I take someone with me.
Yeah.
And like, I was like, yeah, it's like a 90-minute, 2-hour movie. Cool.
Yeah.
It's like, but if it's like a 5-hour game, I'm just like, I don't know, that's not too much for $10.
It's funny. I don't know why it is.
That's just a different perception, I guess.
Absolutely. So, and it's on all platforms, right?
Yeah, just about everything.
I think even Switch,
Yes,
actually.
it is on Switch.
Yeah. So there you go, $15, Planet Alpha on all platforms.
I think it's made by like one guy too. It's a very small.
Really, one person made that?
The interview I found was like this one guy talking about like how he doesn't know how to do anything in terms of programming or something. I don't know if he probably had other people helping with like other things, but like he seemed to be sort of the brain behind the whole thing. Some foreigner. I don't know. I admit I was only paying half attention, just sort of like because I saw the video and I highlighted it on X. I'm like, oh, that looks cool. What is that? And I sort of looked it up and it was like, okay, it's like an indie game published by Team 17, made by a developer that's named after the game. So like, that's a small outfit when it's just like when the developer is named like PA plus or whatever.
Team Planet Alpha.
Pretty much, yeah.
I would never do that if I had a studio. You don't name your studio after your first game. You just don't do it.
Yeah, ask the Battlecry guys about that.
Yep, exactly. And then it never even came out.
Now they're like Bethesda Studio Austin or
right.
something.
Yeah. So, all right, well, let's move along. We're going to talk next about Rockstar Games. For the first time in 3 weeks, we are actually going to talk about Red Dead Redemption 2. We're not going to talk about the game so much. We're going to talk about something that happened around the periphery of the game. And this week it was revealed that, and you guys may remember this, way back, a website called Trusted Reviews broke a bunch of information about Red Dead Redemption 2. And because the site was so small and unknown, I think a lot of people just assumed it was bullcrap, not true. As it turns
I only
out,
vaguely remember it.
And as it turns out, everything was true because they got a legitimate leak. And apparently whoever leaked the information had leaked it to a number of websites, not to us, we never got it, but it leaked it to a number of websites, and only Trusted Reviews ended up actually running the information. So Rockstar sues Trusted Reviews' parent company, and this week it was announced, ironically, right after the game came out, that the website's parent company had settled with Rockstar for 1 million euros. And since that announcement came out, people have been doing some digging and trying to figure out what happened. And as it turns out, Trusted Reviews, basically, the way the laws are written in Europe, or maybe
they're in the UK.
Yeah, they're in the UK, was that you have to prove that the information that you run wasn't obtained illegally. So somebody sent the information to Trusted Reviews. Trusted Reviews had no way to verify how that original source got the information. Whether it had hacked into Rockstar's servers or whatever, they had no idea where the information came from or how that original source had got the information. And so since they couldn't prove that the information wasn't achieved in some illegal way, Rockstar was able to sue them, and then they settled out of court for 1 million euros. Now, I will say that settlement is all going to charity, which is great. So Rockstar's not making any kind of financial gain through the whole thing.
Not that they'd notice if they did.
Right, like a $1 million
to them is like a rounding
It's like
error.
a penny to us or whatever. So how do you feel about this, Matt? Do you feel like Rockstar took advantage of the situation and that it has basically a bottomless pit of money for litigation?
Well, I think they took advantage of the fact that laws are different there.
Yeah.
I mean,
that would never
that
would
wouldn't
happen
happen here. Like,
Right.
there's no such thing as that here. Like,
Yeah.
you can get sued for slander or libel here.
If you report stuff that isn't true.
Yeah, but like, there's no. If you get the information, you can report the information in the U.S.
Yeah.
UK has very different laws in regards to that. So I think they saw the opportunity to do that, to make an example of somebody, and they took it.
Why would it do this, though? What is the...
Because if there's one thing Take-Two and Rockstar want, it's absolute control over their own narrative when it comes to their products. And this is they want you to be scared of doing this to them again.
So you think this was done as a deterrent? To send a message to journalists, don't you dare ever leak
Do not
early.
step out of line, you work for us. That is my interpretation
That's
of this.
pretty freaking scary.
Yeah, well, it's to me it would be in character.
Yeah. I will say this, though. I have not heard from Rockstar about my Red Dead game eval. I really thought that I would get a nasty email because I didn't just acquiesce and say it's the greatest thing since sliced bread. Obviously,
They seem to be relying on Twitter for that.
yeah. Obviously, I heaped tons.
They
of
don't need to
praise
do that
on the
themselves.
game in my game eval, but it wasn't a perfect 10. And
No.
but
it is interesting to note that if you put your personal, the thing where if you look at what the score adjusted is for your personal taste,
Yeah.
like that score on that game like skyrockets for me. It goes up to like 8.3 or something for me, which is like astronomical for a sifted review.
And it actually went down for me.
Because of the connectivity of it, because you like online stuff.
No, because I'm a gameplay guy. And we gave the interaction like a 4, I think, or a 5.
Yeah, 4, I think.
So, yes, and I care a lot about that, and my ratings reflect that. And so the score went way down for me. And I have story set pretty low in my game eval.
I have stories. I have gameplay set high as well, but I have story set very high as well, and I think it bumps it up to higher than Witcher 3 for me, which is not true. I don't like this game better than The Witcher 3.
Yeah.
But it is an interesting metric to look at.
Yeah. I've had some games go up a lot for me in this Q4, but Red Dead was not one of them. It just doesn't. It's not in my wheelhouse for games that I typically like. But yeah, I agree with you. I totally think this is Rockstar trying to intimidate the press and saying, at least the press in Europe. Because this, as we said, this would have never flied in America. It would have never happened. But now you got to figure, if you're running a website in the UK or somewhere in Europe and you get information on one of Rockstar's games, do you run it? No.
Yeah, I guess not.
don't?
Unless you can verify where it came from.
Right. Yeah, but how do you prove that? Because then you have to see, that's the other problem here, is that you have to out your source. Mm-hmm. Because you have to say where this information came from. And a lot of sources give you information on the condition of being anonymous. The fact that you're not going to divulge who they are because there could be repercussions for that.
Well, I guess you just hope you have a U.S. outlet.
Yeah. But so I wonder how that works for US Gamer. So US Gamer is owned by the same parent company as Eurogamer. Mm-hmm. And so what happens if US Gamer runs information? The parent company's in Europe.
That's a good question.
How does that...
The action took place in the U.S., so I would imagine that's the jurisdiction that would apply.
Or did it? Was
usually
the information sent from someone in Europe?
Well, that doesn't necessarily matter. What matters is the action that was taken by the outlet. And if the outlet is based in the U.S., then U.S. law applies to it.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that is probably how it would work. But it's messy.
That doesn't mean that they couldn't put the fear of God into the European parent company.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And then when stuff like this happens, what happens is the big boss man from the parent company comes down and has a little talk with trusted reviews. You get an email, and it's be in conference room D at noon, and you walk in, and there are people that you've never talked to in your entire life, and you don't know who they are, and it's probably
boss's boss's boss.
Yep, it's the CEO. It's probably the head of marketing who says, Rockstar just said they're going to pull ads from us. Next thing you know, you're in this whole world of hurt, and your coverage is going to change. How you approach doing things is going to change.
At the same time, I know what trusted reviews is now.
I mean, I had heard about it back when this story first broke. It was a year ago this happened.
Yeah, but I vaguely remember that it was a list of features and what it was going to do.
And they were all right.
Correct. Yeah,
100% correct.
But now after this lawsuit, I'm going to remember trusted reviews.
But it's right. But it's so irrelevant now.
Well, legal stuff takes a long time.
It does. And I understand that it took a year for them to negotiate the settlement and then issue the settlement and then put together their public statements.
Right, and that becomes public record. So
right, and I totally get all that. But Rockstar had to have realized, a month after that story broke, that really, what is the point of us doing this?
The point is they want to control their own narrative on their products. That is a very important thing. It's always been a very important thing to them.
But is it worth the bad PR?
Yeah, because no one's not going to buy a Rockstar game because of this.
No one was not going to buy it because someone leaked that information.
Yeah, that's not what they care about. They want to be able to control the narrative about their product. That is the paramount thing to them. It's always been that. They will go to the mat for it.
Obviously.
So yeah, it doesn't surprise me at all. Is it necessary? I mean, it's kind of bullying in a way.
Exactly. It's strong arming. Yeah.
But
it's we have a bottomless pit of money. We can pay our lawyers until the cows come home. So what are you going to do? You're just going to settle.
Yep. And also, I mean, they probably have journalists insurance that deals with some of that. It happens more often than you might think.
We didn't have that any places I've worked.
Well, no, but like if you go to an actual news outlet, there's a journalist in charge. If you're a parent company that owns a bunch of that stuff, like if something happened to G4, Comcast would have something like that in place.
Interesting.
But like,
I don't know if Viacom ever had it.
Viacom probably did. I mean, at the very least, they would have something to cover something like MTV News.
It was never mentioned to me. I know that.
Well, that probably
we had lots.
Probably just means you didn't get sued.
Well, we did absolutely. I mean, we got sued for Spike.com like big time. And then I dealt with a bunch of stuff at GT. Like I've talked to legal every week. There was something that happened, or we'd have to have a meeting about at least once a week. And they'd never mentioned that we had any kind of insurance to cut. All they said was, if this happens, you're going to be in trouble. That's all they would say. They wouldn't say, oh, we're covered, we're good.
Well, that could go on. Either they didn't have it, or they did have it, but they didn't want to let you know that there was that kind of safety.
Because then their family is going to run wild.
Right. Like, oh, it's just insurance. That's what it's for. What is it there for if we're not going to use
money.
it? That's not uncommon. I don't know if it's that common in the UK, but it is a thing here. But like, you've got insurance for everything in the United States.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think they don't have to worry about a whole lot more UK leaks for the next game. That's for sure.
Or any game.
I'm sure they'd like to do that more often if they could. But like that's the First Amendment is kind of in their way on that one.
Well, in America, they can't do anything.
Yeah. I mean, it's not going to stop leaks. People are still going to leak shit. It makes you wonder who the person that leaked it and what happened to them.
They might be dead.
Yeah.
I'm not even kidding. I'm only kidding, kinda. I don't know. I think it's a bad look for Rockstar. I just can't understand why it's not a big deal. It's really not.
No, but it's a big deal to them because their ethos is so centered around we control the vertical, we control the horizontal, and they know that it's not going to damage anything. Like no one's going to boycott them because they did this. No one's going to say anything bad about them that's going to stick. Most people that make their games the multi-million sellers they are don't even know this happened and never will.
Well, I think it knows its audience because what we've seen with Red Dead over the last few weeks, people willing to go to the mat to say the game is perfect and not admit it has any flaws. I think Rockstar does understand that its audience is very dedicated. Yeah, and in a lot of cases will stand behind it even when it's wrong.
Yeah, it ain't going to lose any Game of the Year awards to this.
No. I mean, it shouldn't.
It shouldn't get them.
Right.
So.
Well, but it shouldn't lose any game. When you're considering Game of the Year, none of that stuff should matter. It's just the game.
Well, exactly.
How good or bad is the game?
Like there is no PR downside to this, frankly.
Well, I view them differently now.
Yeah, well, are you going to not buy their games? Are you going to dislike their games? Are you going to not talk about them anymore on the show? Like there's no consequence. There's no consequence. And the worst thing the worst look from it in general would be that they took $1 million from this, but they turned it over to charity to kind of make it look like they did something altruistic,
right?
Which is it's a brilliant swerve. Like it's really well played.
No one ever said Rockstar isn't smart, or Take-Two.
And now they put the fear of God into a whole lot of outlets, and that's going to take care of a lot of European, because a lot of the leaks and stuff like that, like when they turn out to be right, do come from Europe.
They do, absolutely. I also wonder if enough stuff like this happens, if eventually someone's going to start looking into changing that freaking law. Mm-hmm. It boggles my mind that there's a law like that.
That is I would be interested to know the origin of that law. It's probably some weird Victorian thing.
That's scary to me, man. I mean, you're basically like muzzling the press. I mean,
to me, I mean, I have zero insight on this because I haven't researched that law at all, but my guess would be that it comes from some weird thing where you didn't want the press reporting on like the aristocracy or the royal family in a way that couldn't be traced back to who betrayed them.
I wonder too if you had information on, say, like a terrorist attack, and you get that information illegally, will you get prosecuted?
Well, and that's
what if you hack somebody, find out they're planning a bombing, and report them? Do you get prosecuted for that?
If you report it in the press, probably.
That's crazy.
Because in that situation, you're supposed to report it to the authorities, not the paper. That's the procedure there.
It's crazy. Maybe something like this. This is not going to change anything. But if enough stuff like this happens, maybe eventually that law will get changed, and the journalists there will get a little more protection.
I have a feeling that law has been on the books for a very long time.
Yeah, I have a feeling too. I think centuries.
And the people it benefits probably want it to stay there.
Yep.
Including the multi-million-dollar corporation that just threw $1 million at charity as a result of it.
You're right, and I wouldn't be surprised if it has something to do with the royal family, where somebody found out some information about the royal family, and they're like, "Well, we're changing that
or some
law."
kind of nobility back in the day, something like that. That's what it sounds like to me.
Yep,
it sounds like
possible. Maybe somebody knows more than us.
Either that, or when in the rise of the Industrial Revolution, when like all these companies like were starting to get exposed on like horrible things, and like they're like, we don't want Upton Sinclair's The Jungle to happen to us, so let's put something in that tells you where you have to say where you got it, and that means everybody will be afraid.
Because if it's information that is helpful and could save lives, does it matter how you got that information?
Well, we don't know about the legal precedent in terms of how that law has been used in cases like that. All we know about is this case in which it was used to report on information about a video game.
Right.
So,
yeah. Which is frivolous.
That may, in fact, be a different situation if you're talking about a life-saving incident. But no one's lives were saved by leaking Red Dead 2 information.
No. Nothing. It didn't hurt anything. It didn't hurt the sales of the game. It didn't hurt the hype for the game.
Should have leaked some Diablo 4 information.
Yeah. All it did was hurt a small website. That's really all that it comes down to. It got a short-term gain, and over the long term, it definitely probably regrets now reporting that stuff. And the statements that the website put out, you can tell that like someone had a gun to the editor's head when they wrote it. Like it was just the language.
$1 million gun, €1 gun.
Pretty much, yeah. So anyway, let's move on. Rockstar being Rockstar ultimately, or Take-Two being Take-Two ultimately. Let's move on. We're going to talk next about the Nintendo Switch. So Pachter was on Pachter Factor and said that the Switch was not tracking to hit Nintendo's 20 million goal. And people flipped out on him. All the Nintendo fan sites ran stories about him saying how he's crazy, didn't know what he's talking about. People went into the comments on our YouTube channel and went off on Pachter, said he didn't know what he's talking about. But he did know what he was talking about because it was revealed.
And so did I.
Yeah, and we all did.
Yeah.
And it was revealed this week that the first quarter of this fiscal year, Nintendo only sold 1.8 million Switch consoles.
So I understand it at this point, they're up to around 5.4 million.
I find that very hard to believe. You're basically saying that I guess it does make sense because that period was April 1st to June 30th.
Yeah, now we're talking about July to October.
I guess that does double is what it would. It makes sense. So let's assume that that's right and that there are 5 million now.
Yeah, and they have to sell 15 million more by March.
Yeah.
Not going to happen.
Yeah.
Probably. There's people. I mean, I know people think, Smash Bros. 90% of the people going to buy Smash Brothers already have a Switch.
Well, what happened with Pachter was he said it's tracking to sell 8 million. And the people were like, "Oh, you're saying it's only going to sell 8 million in this year?" It's like, no. He's looking at what it's sold so far, and then he's multiplying that by 3 or 4, or however much data he has.
Taking 1 quarter, multiplying by 3.
Right, and they couldn't understand that. They're like, no, you think it's only going to sell 8 million. No, he's saying right now it's tracking for 8 million. Like, they just could not
There'll probably be like a boost
it.
in the holiday season. That's usually pretty much guaranteed.
Yeah, of course. And Nintendo hardware sells better at the holidays.
And I don't think Smash Brothers is going to make much of a difference because it's selling to the fan base that already owns this system. I think Pokemon will probably make more of a bump. Is it going to make a 15 million unit bump? No. It'll probably crawl its way across 10 or 11 million by March. But it is like the idea that the Switch is some kind of infinite growth machine along the lines of the early Wii was always wrong. And I said at the beginning of this year, Switch. It was like one of our first shows. You said, like, Switch sales, is it going to sell this or that? And I said it's going to slow down. It's not going to tank, but it's going to slow down because there's nothing coming out this year in terms of driving sales the way a Mario game or a Zelda game does.
Yeah. And so far this year, these are the games that we've got. Captain Toad Treasure Tracker, port of a Wii U game. Mario Tennis Aces, which was pretty good.
Did pretty well.
Yeah. Kirby Star Allies.
Also doing pretty well.
Kirby's doing okay?
Yeah, it's only like 2 million.
Wow.
It's doing all right.
I'm shocked to hear that. And Super Mario Party.
Also doing quite well.
That is 2018 for Switch so far.
Yep.
Exclusive games.
Not tops.
One's a port.
Yeah. I mean, that's not an exciting lineup if you don't own the system already.
I don't think it's an exciting lineup, period.
Well, I would agree, but like, there's people that disagree that are just all they want to play is Nintendo stuff. I get it, but like, if you haven't already been convinced to jump in on a Switch, none of those games are going to do it. I don't think those games move the needle.
Yeah, I don't either.
So.
And so here we are. Where is this headed, Matt?
Headed to 2019 when hopefully they got better games coming out.
No, I'm obviously, but I mean, where is this headed over the long term for Switch? Because it's starting to look to me like another Nintendo console.
Yeah.
That sells to its fans out of the gate. This time, it just seemed like the fans just bought it a lot more quickly.
Well, it's doing better.
It's outsold Wii U already.
It's outsold the Wii U handily. It's about to outsell the GameCube if it hasn't already. Now, remember, the GameCube was considered a disaster at the time. I mean, in the wake of what people expected from Nintendo. I mean, it's not a flaming wreck the way the Wii U was. It's fine. It's doing fine. But like, I think the momentum of the system early on convinced some people, the true believers to some degree, that like this was the next Wii, that it was going to dominate this generation as a late entry, basically. And like, the PlayStation 4 better watch out. And
that's all over now.
I always thought that was ridiculous anyway, because all you had to do was look to 2018 and be like, what's coming out? Nothing. Like, there's nothing there to entice new owners to jump in. And you know, I mean, Smash Brothers is probably the highest profile release they got, and Smash Brothers is a giant love letter to the fans that already bought the new system. Like, if you're a Nintendo fan to the degree that the Smash Brothers excites you, you've almost certainly already bought this system, because how would you miss that Mario game? How would you miss that Zelda game? Like, come on. Like,
no, you're right.
And like, how would you miss playing all these other games on, you know, portable Nintendo's better system than the Wii U? I mean, you're in already. Like, what they need are games that people that don't have Switches look at and be like, I have to play that. And I know they're hoping Pokemon Let's Go is going to be that. I don't think it will to the degree that they need it to be. The actual new Pokemon game next year could be that.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like the first full-fledged console, quote unquote, because it's also handheld. I get it. The first full-fledged Pokemon game, the new generation Pokemon game next year, that could be a big deal. Metroid Prime, if it makes it next year, that could be a moderate
That'll
deal.
never move hardware.
It won't move hardware, probably, but like, you never know. It wouldn't get me to buy it if I didn't have it already. But I'm weird. I like Metroid.
Yeah, I love Metroid too. But I think, to me, the last game that's going to move hardware is that mainline Pokemon game.
Yeah, well, it depends. I think we might see a quick and dirty Zelda sequel next year.
Well, there was a report today
like a Majora's Mask.
Nintendo is hiring for the new Zelda game.
Mm-hmm. That would indicate that they're ramping up to get some. Because I feel like
the scenario's all
just
done.
Take the assets, take the thing, get it all. I mean, all you need to do is basically rearrange the map a little bit, throw 6 dungeons in there, and call it a day. Like.
I think probably 2020. Mm-hmm. We'll get the next Zelda.
Maybe. I mean, I would not be super shocked to see it next year, or first quarter 2020.
I would, because it's Nintendo.
Yeah, but Nintendo got to move, man. I mean, you're already seeing sort of this thing where it's like, clearly their next big Mario release is the Super Mario 3D World remaster. You know, it's which, again, great game. Not probably going to pull.
Not a hardware mover.
Didn't move the Wii U.
You'll make more money off the people who already own it.
Right.
Which is a big part of the
So
thing.
on one hand, I wouldn't be super shocked to see a quick turnaround Zelda follow up. More realistic, you're probably going to see Switch versions of Twilight Princess HD and Wind Waker HD.
Yeah.
Which I will also get. I mean, yeah, sure. Like I'm into that too. You should move everything worthwhile or exclusive to the Wii U and move it forward to the Switch. Everything should come forward, whatever it is. I don't care what it is.
How do you think this? I mean, these are bad. That's bad sales.
Yeah.
Like 1.8 million in 3 months, 15 months after the thing launched. That's really bad.
Yeah. Well, it was a very dead quarter.
I mean,
that whole quarter there was nothing to look at.
This is the consequence of sort of blowing your load right out of the gate.
Right. And it's also,
but they were rewarded for that by all the sales initially.
Well, it's also further evident, in the meantime, all these indie games are selling like crazy. Like, they're doing really well. They're making, multi-million. There's 20 plus million sellers on the Switch at this point. So people who own the Switch are buying the software. The people who own the Switch are clearly doing something that they didn't do on the Wii U, which is like they're buying software regular for this thing, and they're buying the indie games in droves. Some of the indie game developers are saying like the first day on the Switch is the best day they've ever had on these games, even if they're years old. So there's a market there. The people that own the system are buying software, which is a good sign, because Nintendo's had that problem in the past where, like, especially on the Wii, no matter how popular you think the Wii was, none of the top sellers on that system sold in the numbers and attach rates that you should be expecting from a 100 million selling system.
Except Mario Kart.
Except Mario Kart. Mario Kart is, I saw a comparison of a bunch of sales.
I mean, that is Nintendo's biggest franchise.
Yeah.
Mario Kart is Nintendo's
I saw a bunch of comparisons
franchise.
of sales of, like, the Switch copy versions of these things are all catching up to the sales of the other installments of them, except Mario Kart. Like Mario Kart, the Wii version of Mario Kart is so far out in front. I don't know if you're ever going to top that.
It's one of the best-selling games ever.
Yeah,
yeah.
So, like, I don't think the system is like underperforming in terms of how much is out there and how the people who own it are buying software, which is the other half of that coin. But there's just nothing there to convince someone who hasn't already jumped in that first year with Mario and Zelda
and Mario Kart.
If they
didn't jump in when there was Mario, Zelda, and Mario Kart, what more do you need? If you're ever gonna buy a Nintendo console,
the only X factor would be the brand new Pokemon game is on the Switch, and you have to buy the Switch to play it.
That's it. I don't know, Matt. I was hard on Switch before it came out. I didn't think it was gonna be successful, and then I ate crow and admitted it on the show many times. I was wrong. I was surprised I was wrong. Now I'm starting to think maybe I wasn't so wrong.
I don't think you were. I mean, it wasn't going to be a bomb. I never thought it would be a bomb.
I think what ultimately happened is that the total possible audience just bought it all right out of the gate.
Yeah.
And now we're starting to see...
The Wii U was a slower burn because it was a harder sell.
Yeah, because it didn't have Mario...
Even to fans.
Yeah, because it didn't have Mario, Zelda, and Mario Kart right in that first year.
Indeed, it never had Zelda until it was too late.
Exactly. And so this console's front-loaded. You get all the people who would ever even consider buying a Nintendo console to buy it in the first 15 months, and now...
Plus a little extra. I mean, we saw about 10, 12 million for the Wii U, means like there's about 12 million people out there that'll buy anything Nintendo puts out.
Right. So, yeah, you got all those, in the first, 12 months. All those people bought it. It took the Wii 3 years to get that many people. All those people bought Switch right away.
Yeah, the true believers were in immediately.
And rightfully so. It was a great first year for the console, but it's starting to look like the same old song and dance all over
Starting
again,
to look a lot like GameCube.
It is. It's like... So what I was getting at before you started talking about some other stuff is, what do the third parties think right now?
Well, we know what EA thinks. Nope.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much nope.
I think, Ubisoft, I think, will continue to support, because they always do. They figured out whatever the magic equation is for, like, we spend this much, it sells this much, we make this much on Nintendo stuff. And they have a good relationship with Nintendo. Clearly, there's potential there for games that may not be viable in other places. I think I saw, I don't know if it's changed, but in the first week, I think 82% of Starlink's sales were the Switch version.
Well, you have the Star Fox crossover.
Right. I mean, yeah, but that counts.
It does,
I mean,
absolutely.
And I was just at Target, and the Starlink stuff is already on sale. So, clearly there's a market there for some things that maybe doesn't translate to the other systems. You could see Ubisoft try to capitalize that. If there's a Starlink 2, I bet you it's Nintendo exclusive.
There will never be a Starlink 2. If that stuff's already on sale,
I think
Ubisoft already regrets making that game.
I don't know about that. I think it's well received enough that you could see a Starlink 2 that just doesn't have any toys.
If they couldn't hold on until after Black Friday to discount that stuff,
well, it's like
bad.
It's a buy the starter set and get like one of the ships or whatever half price or something like that.
There's not that.
It's not like a clearance thing,
right?
But they're already discounting it they're incentivizing it. Already.
Well, they've got the holidays coming up. They have all this other stuff they need to make shelf space for.
But I wouldn't be. I could see if a Starlink 2 were to happen, I think it would be on a Nintendo system only, and it wouldn't be
Honestly,
toys.
I think Nintendo will just have Ubisoft make a Star Fox game.
That is also a good idea. Certainly, it was a better Star Fox game than anything they've made for Star Fox since probably N64.
Better than any Nintendo Star Fox game since the N64.
But I mean, you see EA basically will put out FIFA, and
That's about it.
Take care. It's like
I'm just wondering. I mean, it has
part of that is EA's refusal to leverage its back catalog.
Yeah.
Like EA, if EA did the thing everybody else was doing, where we're just going to put our 3-year-old game on this thing. Like,
I'd play Boom Blocks for
sure.
Switch. I absolutely would.
Or like Mass Effect Trilogy.
Yeah.
Like just like a port of the old
But see, they
game.
did that with the Wii U, and like it sold.
Well, they put
horribly.
Mass Effect 3 on it.
Right.
That's the problem. Is like you're not going to buy Mass Effect 3 for a system you don't have 1 and 2 on. Like jumping in on that random. Come on. Like
you gotta do what you gotta do.
That was all dumb. That was all. The Batman Arkham City Armored Edition didn't work either.
All that stuff, at launch, and that was all the third-party support the console ever
pretty
got.
much it.
And we're starting to see that again. All the indie stuff's going to Switch. Still, when a game is announced, it's either PC only or PC and Switch now. Like you're seeing PC and Switch way more. It's kind of taken the place of what used to be PC and PS4. So the indies are all over it.
Part of that is because like the PS4 doesn't need to lean on that anymore.
Right.
Like I think you see that shift a little bit when you get to the PS5 because you're going to start seeing that's what happens. These the big console manufacturers look for the indies when they need to fill their lineups out, and the Switch needs it, and the PS4 doesn't need it as much now. But early on in the PS4's life, it was the go-to indie place because it was the place where they needed stuff in between all those big releases that were more few and far between than they are now.
And it's not a surprise that indie games are selling better on Switch because people who own a Switch don't have that much to play.
Yeah.
Think about all the games that we've been playing. I've been playing Assassin's Creed Odyssey. I played for like 100 hours. I played Red Dead Redemption 2 for like 60 hours. I'll say this. I was very happy to finish Red Dead. I was like, oh my God, thank heaven. This is the last 80-hour plus game I have to play this year. But all these games that we've been playing, Nintendo fans haven't got any of this stuff. While we've been like playing these awesome like 9.5 out of 10 games for like 100 hours, there's been nothing on the Switch. And with the way the console sales are going right now, if things don't go well this holiday season, third-party support might just be gone again as far as big-budget third-party stuff. I think indies are going to continue to do well on Switch, but the big-budget AAA stuff, people call it, like...
If you care at all about the AAA stuff, like, you can't go sole console Nintendo. I mean, people that were... even with the streaming option, like, we haven't seen any movement on that at this point. It's not viable yet. It might be at some point. I mean, clearly, Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which you mentioned, like you can play that on the Switch in Japan if you want to.
Yeah.
I feel like it's simpler to just have a PS4, especially because you get other exclusives. That's the thing that's like.
But if you're a Nintendo fan, that's not an option. That's just not.
Well, of course, it's an option. It's just not something I guess you do because you hate good games. But like, there's nothing you could do that would convince me that missing out on God of War and Spider-Man is a good deal.
Nope.
But like, I also wouldn't want to miss out on Mario and Zelda. So, it's not a single console.
That's why I always say,
Nintendo
sacrifice a couple mediocre third-party games and buy the consoles.
Nintendo hasn't been a primary console for me since the 16-bit days. I mean, it's just not.
N64 was the last time a Nintendo console was the one I played the most.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess I probably did play the N64 the most, just in the sense of multiplayer.
You add up all the Mario Kart, and
add up all the
multiplayer,
multiplayer,
Perfect Dark.
In terms of like solo game time, I probably played the PlayStation more.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
but overall, hours spent, I spent way more time on my
N64. The
GameCube
was almost viable, and it got the small disc size was a problem, but they did get a fair number of the multi-platform things.
It was the harbinger, though. It was,
yeah.
This is the way it's going to be for maybe ever.
Yeah.
When you saw the third parties just run away.
Yeah. I think at some point Nintendo really needs to sit down and think about whether they should catch up hardware-wise.
Yeah.
Because that would solve their third-party problem in short order.
Like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so easy
and then
to
you
port.
you really do have parity, and you can decide, when it comes down to it, which exclusives do you care about the most, and that'll be your system. And
because even the GameCube,
I think a lot of people are going to pick Zelda and Mario and
Right.
Pokemon. Like it's not a hard choice for most people.
Because even with the GameCube, you had discs, but they held like a quarter of the data of a normal DVD. Like it has always been hamstrung by either
and you
the
had
media or power
or both.
or both.
And you had, you had like Factor 5 in the GameCube era, figuring out ways to use this super compressed audio to make it sound good
Music.
through Pro Logic
Yep.
and all. I mean, they they were working those miracles back on the N64 even. Same with Angel Studios, which figured out that codec that let you play the Resident Evil 2 videos on the cartridge.
Yeah.
For 20 plus years, you've had these. Nintendo's been relying on people to figure out magic
to make
their game, their systems work on par with the competition.
Yeah, it's true.
So and the Switch looked like it might have been the new zeitgeist early on, but I was always skeptical that it could maintain the momentum, because I always said let it sell what the Wii U sold, because that's your fanatic fan base.
Yeah.
And can
After
it go
that,
beyond that? And it
yeah.
has dropped off a cliff.
So it's sitting at 5 million now.
Around 5 million for the fiscal year, yeah.
What's your prediction for the end of fiscal year, with knowing that their target was 20 million? Where do you think they're going to get to?
I think they're gonna land somewhere in like the 12 million.
I think
it's going to be a good holiday season for them, but I don't think it's going to be a 15 million unit good holiday season.
No, I think a good holiday season at this point for Nintendo will be selling 3 or 4 million.
Yeah.
I
mean, and add 3 more months, the end of March, and I think they could probably get to 10, 11, 12 in there.
I'm thinking 10 is going to be.
I think in the 11s. I think the 11 million something range is my guess.
And then what happens from there?
I'd have to see the schedule.
Because then the third parties are like, what's going on here?
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, to be honest,
I mean, look,
Xbox One has sold what, around 35 or 40 million lifetime?
Something like that. The Switch is about to pass the Xbox One.
Yeah.
I know that. Like, by the end of the year, the Switch will definitely have outsold the Xbox One.
So if third parties are still making games for Xbox One, maybe Nintendo isn't as doomed as...
Well, but the problem is that the Xbox One is really easy to make the game for, because if you've made it for the PC or the PS4, it's already there. And it's more powerful, so you don't even really have to optimize it that hard.
Yeah.
It's a totally different ball game there. You lose nothing, whereas like for the Switch, you'd have to basically, that people have, you build your own game for it. You have to do it's like the Wii. You had to do a version for that. You had to do put a team on making it fit on the Switch, make it fit on that stupid cartridge.
People working with motion controls. They normally don't work with motion controls.
Paying the extra money to Nintendo because of the cost of the cartridge.
The cards, your Switch version may cost an extra $10 more than the other versions.
And then you won't make as much because you had to put more money into this because of the storage medium. Yeah. There's not a lot of upside to
That's my point. I don't think there is a lot of upside for Switch at this point.
Mm-hmm. Not if you're a third-party publisher, for sure.
Absolutely not.
It's just I think as you see next year, it's gonna basically become the usual Nintendo thing where it's just the system where you have and you wait for it. I think the indie game thing is important. The indie game gives them some continuity between big releases. But for me, I've played all of those on other platforms already, and it's just going to be the same Nintendo system where I wait for the big quarterly Nintendo release and play that, and that's what Nintendo systems have been for like 20 years to me. It's not like I'm disappointed by that. It's what I expected.
But it's better than how it has been in the past. If you're a Nintendo fan, I mean, having all those indies there to have something to play while you wait for the next big.
It's not like the Wii U where it was just like a desert of nothing for
where you're like,
months
thank God I have my
months.
3DS. Yeah,
you're sitting there like trying to convince yourself the Devil's Third is worth buying. I mean, it's just it was a dark. The Switch is not a bad time. The Switch is. You look at the online store for the Switch, and it's just, it's full of a lot of shovelware, but it's like it's stuff there every day. It's all full.
It's full.
Yeah. It's not like the Wii U where you look at the store like 2 months later and like the same things were on the
front page.
New releases list on the screen. It's like it's a very different world for a Switch owner. I feel like if you're a Wii U owner like a couple years in, you're just like, oh my God, what have I done? Why did I spend my money on this? There's nothing to play. Whereas with the Switch, you have a bunch of stuff to play because even if a lot of it's old ports, I even know a bunch of people that have a Switch and buy games they already own on PC or PS4, the indie stuff, because they're like, oh, I'd like a portable version, which is crazy to me, but like it's like clearly it's important to enough people. What is it, 80-something percent of people who own a Switch use it portably? So like that's an important feature.
I don't think it's that.
I thought it was pretty. It was pretty crazy.
It's way more than I thought. I'll say that much. So if everything plays out the way we think. I'm saying it'll hit 10. They'll sell 10 million this fiscal year. You're saying a little more. What is the ultimate sort of outcome from that? Did third parties just completely bail?
Pretty much, except Ubisoft. I think Ubisoft will stick around because they have that relationship.
What about Bethesda? Bethesda's been very dedicated to Switch.
I think Bethesda's had a good deal going with Switch. I think there's money changing hands there.
Right.
And I think
offsetting the losses.
Yeah, and I think they already said that the next Wolfenstein will be on Switch. I don't think Elder Scrolls 6 will be on Switch. But,
definitely not. But based upon what we're about to talk about, I don't know. So that segues nicely into our last topic of the show, and that is Fallout 76. And we talked about this, what was it, a month ago?
A few weeks ago, 3 weeks ago.
3 weeks ago. But we had not played it. We were just basing everything on the media that Bethesda had put out and reports from others who had played it. But that all changed this week. I have been playing the Fallout 76 beta. And I've been playing it on Xbox One. And before you look at this B-roll, I want to let you know this is from base Xbox One. It's not an Xbox One X. But
OG Bone.
All this footage is coming from the Xbox One version. And the reason I'm telling you that is because this game looks absolutely terrible. Terrible. This is one of the worst looking video games I have played in I don't know how long. And I'm talking about like indie games. Comparing it to indie 3D games, this game does not look good. However, everyone's pretty down on this game. And everyone's hating on it, and the Fallout fans are rebelling.
They're even looking down while playing
Literally,
it. Because you run faster when you look at the ground.
Apparently, if you look at the ground, you run faster in this game. I did not discover that, but apparently that's the case.
The physics are tied to the frame rate, apparently.
That's so bizarre. I did not notice that while I was playing.
It's a quirk of the engine.
Everyone's hating on this game, but I have to say, I actually enjoyed my time playing this game, Matt.
Okay.
Like a good bit. Like I had fun playing this game.
I would have thought someone who is like so into and picky about shooters as you are would have had problems with this.
I mean, the shooting works fine.
Like compared to like Fallout 4, because I thought Fallout 4 shooting was awful.
It's the same.
Okay.
But I don't even really use the shooting controls in this. I just use VATS constantly.
Like what is that? Just like the auto aim kind of thing, right? Because it doesn't slow stuff down anymore.
No, they slow down.
Really?
Yeah, like you'll see in the B-roll at the end.
How does that work with
VATS.
multiple people?
The enemies still move, but they move really slow. They don't stop completely, but they just like slow down to like a crawl.
So what do you see if someone else is using VATS?
I don't know. I don't think you see anything on the enemy. I think you only see the VATS, your VATS, on the enemy.
Yeah, but if you're slowing down the enemy, doesn't that have to impact what the other players see because they're seeing the same enemy?
I guess.
But I mean,
there is footage in this B-roll of me using VATS because an enemy was attacking some other player. I turned on VATS to get the enemy off of him, and it worked. Like I turned on VATS, shot him in the head, he dropped. So I don't know what that other player saw. That's a good question, though. That's a really good question. I have no idea what the other player saw. But so a lot of people are saying like this isn't Fallout. It's not going to be fun for people who want to play single player. I had the exact opposite experience playing the beta. So you start out, you're in the bunker. You go through the setup stuff. You get introduced to the Pip-Boy. You customize your character. You can take the photo for your ID, which you're seeing right here. And then you leave the vault. And from the moment I left the vault, and I played it for... The way they're doing this is there's literally 2-hour sessions per day. There's a window of 2 hours that you have to play it in. And also at the end of this footage, you'll see I played it right until they cut me off. So they'll tell you how long it's going to be, and then you get a little message on your screen saying servers are going to be shut down in 10 minutes. So they'll give you 10 minutes after whatever time they say they're going to shut down the servers. So you have 2-hour windows, and I played it for 2 days for those 2-hour windows, so I played it for about 4 hours. And what I found is it very much plays like a normal Fallout game. You come out of the vault. Now, one thing to keep in mind is for your first 5 levels, no one can attack you. You're basically off limits as you kind of find your footing and figure out how the game works. So you don't have to worry about PvP right out of the gate. But you come out of the vault and you talk to your little robot buddy, and he gives you your first quest, and it just plays like a Fallout game. And for the first 4 levels, when no one could mess with me, I'd see people running around a little bit here and there. that I didn't interact with them much. And then I hit level 5. And I don't know if, like, when that happens, if not only is PvP opened up, but it also opens up maybe more online players to your game. But once I hit level 5, I started seeing people everywhere. And nobody ever attacked me. I never got in a PvP battle. And there were people there that were, like, crazy high levels compared to me.
Yeah, but they can't hurt you.
So. Well, they can, but it's nerfed.
It's just tremendously nerfed unless you fight back.
Right.
So most people just don't bother.
Yeah. So I had no problems with people just randomly...
Which I guess is the system working as intended.
Right. So I had no problem with people attacking me or high-level people with crazy weapons taking me out with one shot or whatever. What I found was, once I hit level 5 and some of the better missions started opening up, people started helping me. Like, I would be in a mission, and random people would just show up and start helping me kill enemies. I stumbled across tons of missions where people were in the middle and they're getting overwhelmed by the enemies, and I would just jump in and help them. I don't know.
Sounds like Destiny.
It is. It absolutely is Destiny. That is the best way to put it. But you can play this by yourself the whole time. I mean, people can come in and help you. You can't keep them from doing that. But you can just choose to play this by yourself and just keep going through quests, and the quests are just as good and interesting as they were in Fallout 4. I don't know why there's so much anger around this game.
Well, if the shooting's like Fallout 4, I can understand why people don't want to play an action version of it.
But it's not. I mean, the controls are the same, but it's not like an action shooter. Like, the enemies aren't crazy fast. They're all kind of slow and deliberate. They're not, like, sprinting around, like, trying to flank you and like, shoot you in the head or whatever. Like, it's a kind of a laid-back game, if that makes any sense. Like, I don't know. I didn't feel like the shooter controls ever got me killed or kept me from enjoying the game. And again, like I said, I just kept using VATS, like, over and over again, because VATS do way more damage. In the early parts of this game, like, you're really doing, like, chip damage to some of the enemies with your guns, because you have, like, these guns that are made out of, like, 2 sticks and a rubber band or whatever. Like, you don't, and then you get, like, your first, like, 9mm handgun or whatever, and it takes, like, 80 bullets to take down an enemy if you just use it normally and don't use VATS. So I was just, anytime I get in a pickle, I just turn on VATS, and literally in, like, a bullet or two, you drop, like, most enemies. But everything else is the authentic Fallout experience. I mean, the way you get missions, what you use your Pip-Boy for.
But you get missions in Fallout from NPCs, not from, like, wandering around and suddenly discovering them. Like, without the NPCs and kind of a more story-driven element to it, I feel like you're missing a key part of the Fallout experience that at least makes me interested in Fallout. I thought that was one of the weaknesses of Fallout 4, was I didn't find any of the NPCs particularly interesting outside of Valentine.
Those were great, though. Those were like, those were like next level, though.
Those are by far the best things in that game.
They were some of the best NPCs in games, period, I thought, that section of the game. I don't know. I didn't miss it, man. Like, I thought a lot of those missions and stuff were like,
rough.
Frivolous. What was rough?
Just it was a frame rate was rough there.
Oh, yeah, the frame. So when I first started playing, it seemed to run like greased lightning. I was like, oh, wow, okay, it's ugly as sin, but boy, does it run like a beast. And then after like a couple hours, I started getting to points where you crest a hill, and it just drops to like 15 frames a second. Now, keep in mind, this is a beta. This is... granted, very close to final release.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of things will change in a week.
Yeah, probably not. But
also,
look,
you're on the
I give them the benefit of the doubt, and I am on Xbox One base.
Yeah.
So keep all that in mind. But honestly, I didn't even miss all those elements, Matt. To me, the fluid way the game plays, with people jumping in and joining to help, or me being able to find other people, it kind of sanded down that rough edge that I had, because it wasn't quite as story driven. And maybe, again, I've played it for 5 or 6 hours, so maybe when you get to the 20 or 30 hour mark, you're like, oh, I'm sick of this, and I wish there was a more structured, rigid, like, story to it. But based upon what I played, I didn't really miss it. I thought the missions were just as interesting as they were in most Fallout games. And again, I like the fluidity of it, the unexpected element of it, where you don't know. I mean, you just don't know how hard something's going to be, because you could start a fight and you're going to fight it all on your own, or next thing you know, 4 dudes just roll up and just start clearing house for you. Like, one of the missions was basically a horde mode. So you're in this big building, and there's 3 terminals in the building, and the enemies rush in and go at the terminals. You have to defend the terminals, basically. And when I first launched that mission, it was just me, and I didn't have a gun. All my guns were like out of ammo, and I was using a hatchet to like try to complete this mission. I was like, oh, I'm going to fail this. There's no way I'm going to succeed and get through this. Next thing I know, 2 dudes just bust in and just with like machine guns and just start mowing people. Like the feeling that I got there, though, like I've never got that from a Fallout game before. So I think it's different, but different isn't always a bad thing. Like sometimes it can give you a new perspective on things.
Is there any kind of like a story, or is it just a series of incidents?
I haven't seen any cutscenes, I guess is the best way I can
There's no like overarching like
but yes, there is
story of the West Virginia wasteland or anything.
Yeah, I mean, there's like they lead you into a plot right from the beginning. Like you have to go to this camp and pick up a bunch of stuff, and the camp has been overrun. But there's a lot of important stuff there that you need to pick up, and that's where you get like your first gun. So they have like a thinly veiled prose that kind of wraps around the whole thing. There's a lot of lore hidden in the Pip-Boys. Lots of lore hidden in the files that you find on terminals hidden everywhere. So there definitely is a narrative and a story that you follow along. It's just not as overt where it says, hey, we're going to stop the game right here and show you a cutscene. Basically, you have to consume the story bits based upon what I've played so far. You have to consume the story bits in ways that I normally never consume stories. Like, I'm not the guy who reads like logs and things like that in most games. But that's kind of how, at least so far, the story has been told in Fallout 76. But, you know, my expectations were really low after all the negative reports that came out about it. Most of the there were some journalists that liked it, but a lot of them didn't like it. And so my expectations were just like rock bottom, and I was pleasantly surprised by this game. Like, I don't think people who like Fallout are going to be disgusted by this game. And I haven't got into the PvP stuff yet, but it sounds like they're being pretty smart with how they're doing that. Aside from just waiting the 5 levels before anybody can attack you, the way that they nerf the higher level characters, and essentially you have to commit to that duel before it really goes into full-on PvP. I think they're handling that in a smart way. I think there's tons and tons of elements from Fallout that are in this game and handled very well. They're going to be very familiar to people. And I think Fallout fans are going to like it. If they stop listening to the hive mind and the internet hate for it, I think a lot of people are going to enjoy playing this game. I think what I would just say baseline is don't write it off.
Too late.
I think you're right. I think a lot of people have.
Well, I mean, for me, this is utterly not what I want out of a Fallout game, and I'm not going to buy it. Like, I don't want to.
You didn't like Fallout 4 either.
No, which doesn't help. Because this is just Fallout 4 mod, basically.
It is. It absolutely
I didn't like
is.
the gun. I played Fallout 4 in spite of the terrible gunplay, and making a whole online game out of that gunplay with a kind of a Destiny vibe to it is not any kind of enticement to me. Because one of the reasons I kept playing Destiny was because the gunplay is so good.
Yeah.
It made up for the fact that I was kind of bored with the format. And so now you've got a format that bores me with gunplay that annoys me, and that's just not something I want to pay $60 for.
But I would say this about this, too, is that there are other elements of this that Destiny doesn't have that makes me actually like the design of this more than the design of Destiny. Because it really is Fallout kind of under the hood. Like, all the stuff you've always done in Fallout games, it's all in there. And that's stuff that you didn't get in Destiny. And I agree with you. Destiny, to me, if the gunplay weren't so good, and Bungie weren't so good at that part of developing games, I never would have played it as long as I did. Mm-hmm. But to me, with this, like, the gunplay wasn't as big a deal. It wasn't like a deal breaker to me. It wasn't terrible, first of all. It's not good or great, but it's not terrible. But it wasn't as big a deal to me because it has so many other elements to it that a game like Destiny does not have. So it's kind of like...
Yeah, well, I mean, it's blending in the survival elements and stuff like that, which is another set of things I don't care about. Like, it's just not... You might as well have made a Fallout mobile game. Like, I know they did, but, like, that was pretty good. But, like, it's just not... This is the Diablo Immortal of the Fallout series to me. Like, it doesn't super surprise me that it's not incompetent, you know? Like, but nothing... Like, watching this just looks... It looks... No...
Well, I told you, it looks terrible. The graphics
I just
really
rather
bad.
play... Yeah, but even what you're doing just looks so boring. Like, I'd rather just play New Vegas again with a bunch of mods. Because that's, to me, you say like same thing you've been doing in Fallout since the beginning. Well, no, because what I've been doing in Fallout from the beginning is playing some pretty interesting storytelling from a three-quarters perspective in Fallout 1 and 2. And the Bethesda era Fallout has always been sort of like, well, it's better than nothing to me. And Fallout 3 did a pretty good job of that. Fallout 4 did a lesser job of that. And this isn't taking it in a direction that makes me feel any better about it. I'm just going to hunker down and wait for Starfield.
Yeah. Well, I just want to say I'm pleasantly surprised by how much I am enjoying it. And
Would you pay $60 for it?
I think I would. I mean, I've only played like 5 hours of it, so maybe things get better or worse after you get past that point. But based upon my first 5 hours with it, yeah, I think I would. And I liked Fallout 4. Keep in mind, like I liked Fallout 4 way more than you did initially. It sounds like you came around a little bit on Fallout 4 when you played it later.
Yeah, I still burned out around 40 hours both times.
Hey, that's 40 hours. That's a long time.
Yeah, but it's not a lot compared to how much I played Bethesda's other open world things.
Yeah.
And what part of the second time the problem was that the first time I didn't get to the Nick Valentine stuff. Second playthrough I did do the Nick Valentine stuff, and after a while I realized it was never going to get that good again. And it was just like
that was the best part of the game, undoubtedly. Yeah. And when you die, obviously people can come and revive you, as you're seeing right now, and you can.
He just looks so disappointed.
Yeah. I don't know. I've been having fun with it. I think there's a couple more sessions, and like I want to jump in and play them because I was just kind of getting to the point where I finally got like a good gun, and I wasn't using like this thing that you're seeing right now. Like I said, it's like 2 sticks and a rubber band. And once I started getting some better guns, it became even more enjoyable. But yeah, I was pleasantly surprised. Again, maybe I shouldn't have listened to everybody else when they were saying how much they disliked it, because I've actually enjoyed my time with it. So I would say to Fallout fans out there, all hope is not lost. You might actually like this game. I have enjoyed it and have been having fun with it. So you might as well. Sometimes you just got to shut out the hate. And I wish more people could get in the beta. They should have done an open beta.
Yeah, they should have.
Instead of like making it this. Like
that's the only way I would find out one way or the other.
Right. Yeah. And again, they're trying to stress test the servers,
right.
And that's why they're doing the 2-hour windows, because they want everybody to go in for those 2 hours.
Like again, honestly, the fact that they aren't doing the open beta, like to me, indicates
that's a bad
indicates a lack of confidence.
That's true.
And especially after the little press release where they're like, expect amazing bugs. I'm like, I mean, maybe this thing will be something more for me worth paying more attention to, like in 6 months or something. Because I feel like this is going to have a lot of patching to do.
I think there's a lot of potential with this too. Like raids taking on a gigantic, massive, mutated West Virginia ghost monster, because they've been really diving deep into like this West Virginia lore. There's all these like urban legends about these monsters, and
I saw the Mothman, and there's the point. What was it, the Flatwoods monster? And all this. There's a lot of that.
So if you do
cryptids, ahoy!
Yeah, so if you start doing like raids where everybody bands together and goes after these gigantic creatures, like I think it could be really fun. But pleasantly surprised by Fallout 76. I'll be honest with you. I was my expectations were really low, and it definitely exceeded them. So would be nice if I could tell you guys to give it a spin before you buy it, but chances are that's not going to happen. But I would also say that if you're counting on this game ended up getting like really crappy reviews, I think you might want to reconsider that. I think the press might be a little more kind to this than you think ultimately when it comes time to review it. So,
well, if Red Dead got a 10, this thing's at least a 9.3.
And there you go. So, all right, it's time to move on for our trailer of the week. And I'll say this before we let it run. You guys should get comfortable, because this trailer is like 6.5, 7 minutes long. So it's maybe the longest trailer we've ever run is our trailer of the week. If we have to go to the bathroom, we actually have time to do that, which is a rarity. So the trailer of the week this week, as I said earlier on in the show, it's for Overwatch, and it debuts a brand new character named Ash.
Ash! Ash! We got trouble!
Jesse McCree. Been a while. You promised you'd write.
Well, Ash. I've been kinda busy.
We're pretty busy ourselves, so it's awful convenient you showing up today.
Yeah. You never been one to shy away from a good tip.
Hey, we worked hard for this score. You best move on now.
All I want is that crate. Everything else is yours.
This crate? Huh. Bob. Well, well. Now you got my attention. What is it?
That's none of your business.
Well, as I see it, now it's very much our business.
Doesn't always have to be this way, Ash.
Apparently, it does.
Don't shoot!
Bob! Do something!
Looks like Bob got himself some upgrades.
Knock him out of there! Last chance, McCree! Toss out your weapon!
All right, Ash. Here it comes.
Oh, shoot! What the... McCree?
Sorry about that, Bob. No hard feelings.
McCree? Hey! Untie me, McCree!
Say hi to the
I'm talking
gang
to
for
you.
me.
I will not be ignored! I'm gonna rebuild Bob, and I'm gonna have him rip off your other arm!
Hey there, cowboy.
Welcome back, partner.
How long have I been gone?
Far too long.
What happened?
Well, that's a story for another time. But I got a call. We're getting the band back together. They want me. But really, they need you.
Jesse, wait. What are you going to do?
I've got some business to attend to. Say hi to the monkey for me.
Monkey?
Scientist. Whatever.
Yeah, I quit it. Quit the app and load it in.
So there you go. Hopefully you guys are still awake after that 8-minute long trailer. We just found out that the stream dropped at some point. This is a second or third week in a row that's happened. Mm-hmm. So we're having problems with our internet for some reason. And I'm still trying to get chat reloaded. What the hell is that? It just like popped up like a separate window. No idea. So anyway, hopefully you guys stuck around through the stream dropping and through the long trailer, and you have some questions for us. Although, if it's just loading that chat now, I'm not going to get them. They'll be already through there. So Matt, you're going to have to hook us up.
Mm-hmm. W. Matthew, as usual. Why do you think there's such a disconnect between the press and community on games like Smash and Pokemon? Those games are massive, but it seems like no one in the press cares much. Despite their massive sales, even for games like COD, you still find people in the press who care for it, but not those games.
So wait, what were the two examples again?
Smash Brothers and Pokemon. I don't think it's true at all that people in the press don't like those games.
Yeah, what are you talking about? Those games always get high review scores. Pokemon Sun and Moon got sky-high review scores. I gave it a great review.
Press people I know played Pokemon all the time.
Yeah,
Like,
they constantly.
Yeah.
Like when on flights or like sitting in the hotel lobby. Like, yeah, I think you're just off base there.
Smash is not huge because people in the press generally can't dedicate time to one game over and over again. But I would also argue that the Smash is not really as big as it's made out to be in some ways. I mean, the top-selling version was Brawl with like 13 million copies, and like everything else has been less than that. It's not, it's got a very dedicated vocal fan base, but it's not one of Nintendo's top franchises.
It's also a fighting game, and fighting games for whatever reason just
it's interesting.
Their heyday was in like the 90s.
I think they have a new heyday happening, but like Smash is a different beast. It comes from a different angle. It's not from the normal fighting game community, which comes out of the arcade. Smash comes out of the home from Nintendo systems.
Smash
but
is the best-selling fighting game in the world.
More than Mortal Kombat?
Yep. Mortal Kombat hasn't sold 13 million copies ever.
No, isn't it?
It'll sell.
Mortal Kombat
like
sold pretty
2,
damn
3
well.
million.
I think you add everything up. So
Like Lifetime Mortal Kombat? Well, yeah, then maybe you get some.
But like Smash also has the appeal of Smash is not even necessarily as a fighting game for a good chunk of the people who buy it. It's Nintendo.
Fan service, yeah.
But it's not, on the level of a Mario Kart or a Mario. It's just not.
Well, I think
you look at like Twitter threads and stuff about it, where like people are like, "Oh, why aren't you buying Smash Brothers Ultimate?" And like most of the people who aren't buying it, the answer is because I don't like fighting games.
Yeah.
And like, there's no answer to that.
That's what I was about to say. Is that like you look at me as an example of someone who's a huge Smash fan. Like if I'm going to play a fighting game, I'm going to play something a little more technical, a little more tactical.
I would say there's very few things more technical than Smash
No,
Brothers.
I understand that. I think once you get into it, it feels that way. But when you first start playing it, it feels like this just happy-go-lucky, hop and bop, like arena fighter. And you're right. Like once you get into the minutia of Smash, it's incredibly deep and incredibly intricate. But I think outwardly, it doesn't appear that way. It's like if you think back to the very first Smash Brothers commercial. Remember, it was like all the Nintendo furries just like bopping each other on the head with like hammers. Like I think that's the perception a lot of people have of Smash Brothers. Not because of that commercial, because it's just Nintendo characters fighting each other. And I think maybe there's some negative stereotypes built around that. But I think the press is more than fair to, particularly Pokemon. Pokemon always scores high. Smash Brothers.
They just
has been
don't
up
talk
and
about it
down.
forever.
Yeah.
You know, like the cycle continues, and you know it's done and it's gone, and you know they run their features over the few weeks after it comes out, and
Yeah.
you know then
That's the way it always
then
is.
they leave it to Cerebuy.net basically.
Yeah,
I mean, you know.
That's the way it is. I mean, we covered Red Dead Redemption 2 for 2 weeks. We covered Assassin's Creed for 2 weeks. We do our initial impressions, then we do our final impressions. And we'll do the same thing probably with Smash Brothers. I don't know.
You just can't be. You can't like delve in and dedicate yourself to one game in the press. Like it just doesn't work that way. Like
Yep.
you can't. You
No,
know,
there's no
sometimes you get lucky and you got enough room or enough money that you can have one guy on staff who's just like, this is our Pokemon guy, or this is our.
Some sites have been doing that with
Warcraft
like
guy
Destiny
or whatever. Yeah, like you just play that. Like your
Yeah.
job is to play that forever and continue to report on it.
It's smart to do it, though.
But that's a
because
luxury.
It is, and you have to be a big site to do it.
Yeah.
And generally, they're the only ones who do it. GameSpot and IGN will have separate podcasts just for Destiny.
Yeah, but you'll see, like IGN, there's people that still play Pokemon Sun and Moon.
Oh, absolutely.
Pokemon
Yeah.
Go and all that. You know, believe me.
Yeah. I think that question was a little misguided, maybe. Got another?
Majoratom91, if Fallout 76 flops or underperforms, which I don't think it will, given the prominence of Vault 76 in Fallout's lore, could that hurt the Fallout series? I think the most people that make Fallout like the big hit it is now don't even know that that's in part of the lore.
Yeah. I don't think Vault 76 will have anything to do with it. I think if people don't like the game, it'll definitely hurt the brand. I don't think the Vault number, though, really has.
But it's
much
looking
to
like
it.
we don't have to worry about Fallout 5 for another 10 years. Or
It's
something.
possible.
So,
Well, this thing might be alive for another 5 years.
Yeah,
It's
well,
a
plus-
game as a service.
well, I'm saying in the sense that like their next game is Starfield,
Right.
which is
And then
how
Elder
many years out, and then Elder
Scrolls
Scrolls 6, how many years beyond that? So I think you're looking at 8 to 10 years till Fallout
It's
5.
possible. It is absolutely. It is Bethesda as well.
And by then,
I'll
we'll,
be dead.
We'll probably be ready for that.
I'll be dead.
Congrim1 asks, Shadow of the Tomb Raider has apparently only made $40 million so far and cost around $120 million to produce for their development and marketing. With those dismal sales, do you think it'll be the last we see of Lara Croft for a while?
Yes.
Yeah,
I said that actually when I was talking about our final impressions of it.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see Lara for a while.
yeah,
It's
I'd
on
probably agree with
sale
that.
already, like everywhere, like discounted, like steep.
Yeah, it didn't work out too well.
Nope.
I don't think it's the last we've seen of her forever, but I feel like Crystal Dynamics will be put on the Marvel jobs for a while, and that'll be how it rolls.
I think everybody will be better for it, to be honest with you. And now I do have some stuff loaded up here. And Vincent is freaking awesome, so I'm going to answer one of his questions. Do you think Nintendo just putting something out at equal hardware would be enough to equalize its market share? We've seen it take a while to transition to the HD era and the internet era. Wouldn't 4K streaming and games as a service take as long and lead to the same problems? It's a good question. No. Just putting out equal hardware, a platform of equal hardware power to the competitors won't be enough to equalize its market share. It has to create exclusive experiences to convince people to buy its console versus another console. Will it help? Absolutely. Will it help it having third-party support? Absolutely. Would it increase its chances several fold of being the top platform for once? Absolutely.
couldn't hurt.
There's no downside to having a Nintendo console that's as powerful as the PlayStation or Xbox. None. Even price, like it's not like they're giving the Switch away. They're making money on that hardware. Maybe that's the problem, is that Nintendo knows it won't be able to make money on hardware if it's as powerful as the other guys, who are willing to either sell hardware at a loss at first or break even on hardware. And Nintendo has not really been willing to do that.
Now, the closest I think they've actually gotten is the Wii U. The Wii U, as I heard it, was a minor loss or they were breaking even, which is usually they sell their hardware at a profit.
Yep.
It's always been a Nintendo
Right out of the
staple.
gate, and it stays that way. So it always comes down to software. I mean, the reason Switch is doing so well as an underpowered console / handheld is because of Nintendo software. So you do wonder if they're on equal footing with everybody else with that software, what it could do. Unfortunately, we've never been able to find out. I mean, other than the GameCube, we've never been able to know that. What would it be like if Nintendo's hardware was as powerful as everyone else's with that arsenal of first-party IP. Maybe we'll find out next time, but then what does Nintendo do with its handheld business? Nintendo's never going to be able to make a handheld version of its hardware or hardware that has a handheld component to it and make it as powerful as Xbox and PlayStation. Because the second that you're making sure that hardware is self-contained and can be portable, you're putting yourself behind the eight ball as far as designing the hardware. If you watch Pachter the last couple weeks, he talked about NVIDIA, and what NVIDIA spends all its money on is R&D, trying to make the tech smaller. It doesn't need to invest in manufacturing or anything like that. It's all about getting those chips to a smaller size, running cooler, drawing less power. I mean, that's another problem for Nintendo, is if you want to keep doing this hybrid thing, you have to create hardware that doesn't suck a lot of juice. Otherwise, the handheld part of it lasts for like 20 minutes and it's gone. It's another Sega Game Gear. So Nintendo's if it really wants to compete with the other guys, it's going to have to go back to its old model of having a console and a handheld. And it's going to need to dedicate the resources and the money to making hardware that is on par, or at least has parity with PlayStation and Xbox. And until it does that, it's going to be fighting an uphill battle, particularly with third party. So it is what it is. Do you think Nintendo will go back to that split model, though? Have a handheld and a console in the mobile phone age?
Probably not.
I don't think so either.
You might see a bigger power leap to the next system than you might expect, given where the Switch is here. I would say you're looking at, if they're smart, I think they will go for something that's maybe not on par with the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox whatever, but like something that's powerful enough and architecturally similar enough that you don't have to like figure out another development team to put something on it.
Yep.
I mean, you're probably still not going to get EA, but
Yep.
EA isn't the end-all be-all it used to be.
It's really not. I mean, it doesn't even put out games other than sports games on a regular basis. Here's one from JReedVic7 with the Diablo mobile game as a backdrop. Is this the worst time in history to be a fan of most entertainment-related things? As little and mostly nothing is about dedicated audiences as much as new and potential audiences in this age of hyper-capitalism.
I would say of the things I am most into and have been for most of my life, I have never been happier with them. Like Transformers, better than ever. Star Wars, better than ever. Video games, better than ever. Comics, better than ever. Comic book movies, better than ever. No, I think it's pretty great right now, frankly.
I agree with you. I think everything is way better than it's ever been. Music, everything. Television, all of it. It's all better than it's ever been. But I think the angle that he's taking here is that with having to consume your favorite whatever in this vacuum of fandom that we're dealing with now, with the outrage culture, with the entitlement.
No, I don't think that's what he's talking about at all. I think he's saying like that it's bad because I think he's saying it's bad because the people making these mass market entertainment things are in that capitalist mindset of everything has to be growth all of the time and bigger all the time, and you know, you always have to be building the audience and like always appealing to new people, and you can never sit there and appeal to the people who already like it.
He threw me off with the start though, with the Diablo mobile game as the backdrop.
Yeah, but the Diablo mobile game, what he's saying there is the Diablo mobile game is an attempt to bring in these masses, these whales that aren't playing the main Diablo series.
Oh.
Like the Diablo mobile game is part of that in the sense that like Blizzard has to show constant growth, and one of the ways to show constant growth is we've leveraged this IP to now tap into this market, which we weren't before, and now we're making millions off of them, in addition to the 30 million or whatever we'll sell of the units that we'll sell of Diablo 4 to this other audience, which was the audience at the thing we announced it at, and now they're really mad because they're not the same audience as it's
I get it now.
Yeah.
He's saying that these companies are catering to new fans instead of their
they don't cater
fans.
to us but I'd say I don't feel uncatered to.
Yeah, I don't either. I don't even see where the Diablo thing is not catering to fans. Because they're putting out a mobile Diablo game, it has no impact on Diablo 4. Again, I don't understand why that's so hard for people to understand. It did not impact Diablo 4 at all. It did nothing to the game. Whatever they've been working on, they're still working on it. It didn't speed up or slow down their development of it. They're just developing the game. I struggle to understand why people are so freaked out about this, but
Yeah, I mean, if Diablo Immortal didn't exist, nothing would be different
nothing
about Diablo 4.
Nothing. Nope. It would still be in the exact same state it is.
They still
right
wouldn't have
now.
said a damn thing about it this
Yeah,
year.
exactly.
You just wouldn't have heard anything about Diablo anything.
Look, Blizzard.
And I'm not saying a mobile game announcement is better than nothing,
Yeah.
because maybe not.
Well, obviously
But, like,
not.
Yeah, well, not to a lot of people, yeah. But I'm just saying, like, what happened with Diablo Immortal here has nothing to do with Diablo 4.
Nothing at all.
No one had ever thought of making a Diablo mobile game. We still would have been sitting there at the end of BlizzCon being, where's Diablo 4?
Yeah. And I was gonna say, like, it was probably a mistake for Blizzard to say, oh well, we had like a trailer for Diablo 4, didn't show it. But then I remembered that Blizzard says that's not even true. So
Yeah, there's still a lot of contention around the subject.
around what it really happened. So I think if you're a fan, it's better than ever.
Here's a
look,
question.
You're getting like so many things coming back, like bands. Like every band is reforming now. Like like Misfits played a live show with the original lineup last year. Think about that. Those guys hated each other for 20 years. And they reformed and played gigs, and now they're going to do a tour. Some of my favorite bands of all time from the 90s have reformed and are better now than ever. The games are better now than ever. We have more games. We have more variety, more to choose from. Everything. The TV is better than it has ever been by like 80 magnitudes. This is the golden age of television right now. If there's one medium that I think maybe hasn't gotten better, it's film, maybe.
Depends where you're looking.
I mean, overtly, it's very easy for me to say music, television, video games, all just hitting at their peak. If there's one thing I would say that isn't in its heyday right now, I would say it's film. But it's not bad. It's just not like, oh my God.
I think, yeah. I mean,
Fewer films than there used to be.
No, there's more.
Is there? I thought that was the big thing. Is there way less films being made now?
Fewer like major mainstream tentpole films, but if you're like, it's about the same number of movies. I mean, it's not like back in the 50s when 300 movies came out a year.
Right.
But like, that also depends if you'd call the 50s the heyday of film.
Right.
I think if you know where to look, the quality of film is still there. Maybe it's not on the level of like that 1969 to 77 kind of like easy writer Coppola era. You know, that's an era of film that will probably never be duplicated. Yep. But still doing pretty well.
I said, it's not bad. It's
but
just,
like
when you're looking at these other entertainment mediums.
He did note that he was referring more to Diablo 3 and not 4,
got you.
which is a reference to the argument that they switched to this mobile game so they wouldn't have to keep supporting Diablo 3. I think support for Diablo 3 was out the window a long time ago. And I think part of that...
I'm surprised people still care about that.
It's a little odd
Game's
to me.
been out forever.
But also I think, it's been noted before that like one of the reasons controller support has never come to the PC version of Diablo 3 is because the console versions are built on a completely different system, I think completely different engine.
Makes sense, yeah.
So I don't have any actual evidence of this, but it feels like maybe keeping content parity with those versions and the PC version is a difficult thing. Maybe you have to build it twice or something like that.
Possible.
And it just became a situation where they're like, you know what, let's just make Diablo 4 and get everything on the same page, especially because now they've announced that they're doing that house engine,
right?
Where there's going to be one engine that
That's
everything's
good.
on.
That's a good thing. And
so,
Blizzard will build a great engine.
Yeah. So I think Diablo might just be caught in this sort of period of transition, and it doesn't want to kill you right now.
It's been out for forever. Expecting more support for that game seems crazy to me.
Well, I mean, Blizzard supports
granted,
this stuff for a long time. I mean, they're sitting there saying they're going to support Overwatch for 10 years. I mean, and people maybe expecting the same thing out of a less online-driven game like Diablo 3 is silly, but like they didn't put a whole lot of content out for that game.
They didn't. That's true.
By Blizzard standards.
Yeah.
I would argue.
No, it's true. I don't think you have to argue it. I think it's a fact. But still, the game's been out. Like, that ship has sailed.
Yeah,
is my point.
I think it's definitely, if it wasn't before BlizzCon.
I don't want Blizzard spending time on Diablo 3. Like, all the people who are freaking out, I want them to spend it on Diablo 4. I want to see the next game. Like, we know what Diablo 3 is. They ported it out now to pretty much every platform they can port it out to.
Yeah,
like,
they still do the ladder seasons and stuff. I mean, it's not dead.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, there's not much else to do with that game right now.
Yep.
Except buy it on the Switch, I guess.
Yeah. And take it on the go. Let's see if we have one more. I don't have any more questions on mine, unless you got one.
No, I think we got the big ones.
Okay. All right, so that's it for GameFace episode 147. Thanks for hanging out with us on the big election night here in the U.S. A couple things before we go. Our Patreon is in big time trouble, people. I don't even know why I'm laughing about it. I shouldn't be laughing about it because it's really bad. Our Patreon hit an all-time low when it turned over for November. We are in bad, bad shape. And I don't want to sit here and like beg you guys for money. I'm just telling you how it is. We're not in good shape. So if you really love Sifted and you love GameFace and you love Pactor Factor, I don't know. I don't want to tell you what to do. I'm just telling you the truth. We're in bad shape. And I'm at the point now where I'm losing money again. It was nice while it lasted for the last 12 months, but
Sam flashing the Patreon lower third.
yeah, over and over.
Like a siren.
Yeah. I'm sure you guys have seen it. Our Patreon's doing really bad. And I don't know what to do to stop it. I'm thinking about doing another summit with some of you guys to sit down and kind of talk about things. I'm thinking about like revamping the whole Patreon. But I don't think that those are the problems, to be honest with you. I just don't think that our rewards on our Patreon are what's keeping our Patreon from growing and doing better. I think there's other things at play that are keeping it from being successful. So I've been transparent with you guys from the beginning, and I'm going to be transparent with you guys till the end. And I'm just telling you, things aren't good. So if you really love Sifted, you love GameFace, you love Pactor Factor, you love the other stuff we do, now's the time to show it. So hate to end on a downer note, but it has been a tough month and a half, 2 months for me. Our Patreon has just fallen through the floor. I spent a ton of money on t-shirts that nobody's buying. I don't know. Sometimes the universe has a way of just telling you things, and maybe that's what's happening now. But
Don't make shirts.
yeah,
The universe is telling you.
yeah, I guess, among other things. So, again, just being honest and let you guys know what's going on. As always, I appreciate all your support very much. All you guys have gone above and beyond to support us, and I appreciate it from the very bottom of my heart. But at a certain point, the writing kind of is on the wall. So, we'll fight to the end. We'll do whatever we can to try to keep things going. But just being honest with you guys, they're not looking good right now. So hopefully the election goes better, depending on who you guys want to win, than Sifted's doing right now. At least I hope so. We'll find out all those results after we get off here. Hope you guys have a great week. GameFace is up and out.